Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 21st meeting of the Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. The meeting was actually called to order at 6 p.m., followed by an executive session, and so then we move on to announcements.
Mr. Chair, I have one announcement. The last day to submit petition articles to be inserted in the town meeting warrant is Friday, September 7th, 2012. Mr. Teitelbaum, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I'd just like to read off the list of current vacancies we have for town boards, committees, and commissions, in case anybody wants to volunteer. We're looking for people to serve on the Affordable Housing Trust, the Bike Path Committee, road commissioners, cemetery commissioners, Commission on Disability, Community Preservation Committee, which would have to be an open space committee member, so that would require somebody to wear two hats, Conservation Commission associate member, Council on Aging Board of Directors, Economic Development Advisory Committee, Historic District Commission, Historical Commission, Library Board of Trustees, Marine Resources Commission, Minot Forest Committee, my old stomping grounds, Open Space Committee, the Recycling Committee, the Wareham Cultural Council, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and also the Capital Planning Committee. I have one other announcement as well. We now have a new recycle bin, thanks to Marilyn Russell, who is our recycling coordinator. Thank you, Marilyn. Does my heart good to see that we won't be tossing the plastic in the trash anymore. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
This Friday, we have Main Street Madness again, 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. Hope everybody will come out and visit all the stores on Main Street and participate and spend some money. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
I did see Bob's announcement late about the coffee hour on Thursday.
Did he send it?
I believe we're having Mr. David Evans, our EMS director, who will be in to enlighten the folks about our EMS department. What time does that start, Bob? 9:30? 9:30? 9 o'clock here in the multi-service center. That's all I have.
Mrs. Begley? That would conclude announcements. We have citizens' participation. I guess we'll start on the right side.
Mrs. Smith? Madam Moderator?
Thank you. I just want to take just a couple of minutes here. As you know, in 2014 is the 100th anniversary of the Cape Cod Canal, but it's also a couple of anniversaries in the town of Wareham as well as in Sandwich. In 2014, we'll be celebrating the bicentennial of the attack of the Nimrod on Wareham Harbor, and also the 275th anniversary of the incorporation of the town of Wareham. There has been a few people who have been thinking about that this is going to come upon us quite quickly, and we've met. It's a great group of very enthusiastic people who are willing to get together and try to organize some events, and we would like to be put on your agenda for your next meeting so we can come in and share with you. This is a very enthusiastic, hard-working group of people that are willing to get this off the ground and have come up with some terrific ideas. They certainly want to involve all of the groups and organizations, the school children in town, and make this a whole summer of celebration, starting in Wareham and edging into the Cape Cod Canal celebration and the Sandwich celebration.
You have a name?
A name of the
For
group?
the group. Yeah. This is the 2014...
Summer of Celebration group.
The what?
Summer of Celebration.
Okay. All right, we can do that. Easy enough.
And I'll tell you, they are very enthusiastic, and they have come up with some wonderful ideas. I think you'll be pleased to hear some of the early ideas, but absolutely open to a lot of ideas from the community. Obviously, we can't do
Oh, like
tons
there's a
of
bunch of
things.
people standing up. Wow.
They are. They're. You know, I've been on the go since 5:30 this morning, and I said, "Oh, I'm so tired," but I walked in and saw them, and they're still talking about more ideas, and it's just very exciting and very enthusiastic. So we'd like to share with you some of the thoughts that we have. So we'd like to be on your agenda.
Thank you. Next. Oh. Mr. Slavin? Were you raising your hand, or were you trying to point to somebody? I think she was pointing to somebody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sandy Slavin. Just on the openings, there is no opening on the Affordable Housing Trust. We are full at 5 members, so there's no opening on the Affordable Housing Trust. And there is an opening on CPC for a member at large. So we have a member at large, and we have a representative from open space. So don't have to be an open space to get on CPC. I noticed the other day that
That wasn't it?
No, that wasn't it. I got 3 things. That's number 1. Number 2, I wish Alan would stop laughing.
Stop laughing. Go ahead.
I noticed the other day that the state painted double yellow lines on Route 6 on Marion Road. And I thought it was illegal to cross over a double yellow line. Because of the way they painted it, you can't get down Viking Drive, and you can't get in and out of the library or the town hall.
Oh, yeah.
Right out there on Route 6, everything's a solid double yellow line.
In front of Town Hall?
Town
I
Hall.
didn't notice that. When did they do that, last week?
Last week, thereabouts. Can't get across into Viking Drive unless you cross over a solid double yellow line. Or into the
Oh,
library.
they should have left a opening.
They should have left an opening. Just that I thought that was quite, I'm illegally making this turn.
Well, we all did.
Yeah, I mean, it's, wow, when did this happen? The other thing,
Didn't see that.
the third thing, might be picky, but I'm noticing some strange, an attitude change in the town. I don't know what it is, but little things are just, like the hose used to water the Minot Memorial has been stolen off the side of the road. All of the geraniums that were planted by the memorial on Center Park have been stolen. Even the Dracaena out of the pots on Main Street have been stolen. So it's just a little annoying. I'm saying, what is it that people need? A hose, a Dracaena, and a couple dozen geraniums.
Don't go by my house.
It just seems odd that all of a sudden we have this type of
And somebody stole
minor
the new
things.
bongo drums out
Yes,
of
and that's another thing.
the kids' playground.
Playground. Why? I have no idea why all of a sudden we have such malicious type of vandalism going on in town.
Well,
That's-
the chief is here tonight listening to
I
that,
know,
so
but
I'm sure that he'll...
I'm sorry, but geraniums are not going to be top on anybody's list. It's just annoying. It was planted for the memorial, for the soldiers, done for Memorial Day, and all of a sudden they're gone. They're gone. So
It's very frustrating.
very frustrating. That was my 3 things. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
David? How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm pretty good, actually.
Good.
Except I have to work tomorrow.
Ah,
First of all, I want to say that I'm representing myself. I'm not representing any committee, the bike path, or CETA. This is my own thoughts and ideas that I want to present to you.
okay.
Okay, as you probably know, I'm a bit of an enthusiast regarding the pathway in Wareham, the bike path. The Bike Path Committee has pretty much settled on 3 locations that there will be starting points for the pathway. The first one, of course, is the abandoned railroad, which goes parallel with County Road itself, and Merchants Way. I'm in favor of the Merchants Way location. CETA has indicated that they would also approve of a pathway along Merchants Way. However, one of the problems is that this time Merchants Way is now more like a back alley rather than a beautiful scenic area that it could be. One of CETA's plans is to beautify Wareham. Plan to beautify Wareham is to restore Merchants Way. One of the Pathways Committee's goal is to make our first pathway scenic and beautiful. I'm also sure you're aware the town meeting has allotted the town a substantial amount of money to do a design study for the pathway. What I am suggesting is that the town include Merchants Way in the design plan. So in other words, what we would do is when we design the pathway, we'd also include, that's assuming we choose Merchants Way, we would also include the design of Merchants Way itself, using the money that the town has allotted us, which I think is substantial enough that it can include both parties. What I'm asking is that the Board of Selectmen also include Merchants Way in the bike path demand. In other words, if I would hope that you would be supportive of using the money for a design plan for both Merchants Way and the bike path along Merchants Way. Obviously, this would have to, or at least in my opinion, this would have to go back to town meeting because it's not what they approved. But I think that it would be a good idea. We would get the town started, help with the Merchants Way section is beautification, and we would also get a bike path. So,
David, what is the time frame on those studies?
Well,
They have any dates in mind when they need to be done?
let me put it this way.
All right.
6 years ago, the Bike Path Committee was formed. As of today, not 1 inch of the bike path has been started or even set aside. There's always been one reason or another that this hasn't happened. I'm pushing, and I think the Bike Path Committee is also pushing for a very short time to actually start doing the design study. That's why we've just decided on these 3 different locations so that we can choose one, whichever works out first would be the one that we would go with. And I would like to see us go with the Merchants Way one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and the reason I'm asking you that is because, town meeting is coming up, and if we need to try to get a warrant on, if there needs to be a warrant article to go to town meeting, that needs to be submitted by September the 7th.
September 7th?
September 7th is the deadline for submission of articles. So if you could take that back to the people that you're not representing.
Okay.
If we're trying to get some action, and I know there is a lot of action looking at Merchants Way between the railroad companies and businesses and everybody else. So if you could take that back to the people you're not representing, and if you need something done at October town meeting, it needs to be in by the 7th.
Great.
Okay? Anybody else want to comment to David? Mrs. Begley, did you?
I did. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
The public hearing that I attended, that was on a portion of County Road.
That was on County Road.
Right. So I thought that since that design portion had been accomplished.
No. The only thing we've ever done is we've done a feasibility study,
And that's it.
and that's it. We haven't done anything else.
So no sort of designs, actual design, like engineered designs.
Right, has not been done.
Plans.
What we have done is we've done, I can't remember the name of it, but we've applied to the state, the
Right.
Mass DOT, but that was just a form that we filled out, and that's the abandoned railroad, which we are putting not too much faith in because we've had some complaints or from the abutters.
I thought that a portion of the railroad was privately owned.
It is privately owned, and those abutters have not been enthusiastic about a bike path
Right.
because of cranberry growing.
Now, was the Merchants Way, that was in the feasibility study?
That was also in the feasibility study, right?
But Merchants Way currently isn't phase 1 of the CETA plan, correct?
Well, that's what what I think that, again, I don't want to speak for Michael Langford, because he's the chairman, he should be talking about this. But we've picked these 3 different spots as a possibility to focus our attention on. And depending on which one comes up first is what we'll go with. Rather than doing a phase 1, 2, or 3, we've decided that what we'll do is we'll do 3 different possibilities, and whichever one works best, and that's why I'm here, to sort of get one going ahead of the others.
But if CETA had a design for Merchant's Way, is there any way that the bike path could piggyback onto that and use the DOT money? But I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
a possibility that could be discussed by your committee, and
Yeah.
possibly with Mr. Pina and the
Without speaking for
CETA group.
Mr.
I
Pina,
understand.
I believe that the design that they're going forth with, that they're trying to get, which would be an artist's
Rendition.
rendition of it, I believe that's their first goal for Merchant's Way, which I would hope would include the bike path.
Right. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Anybody else? Quick. Alan?
David, do you know what the status is with Mass DOT as far as, grant money? Because that's where the most of the money has to come from.
No.
Thank you. The other point is that you're using CPA money, which was approved. So therefore, I think you have a problem for fall town meeting, because the CPA program for changing or whatever already shut off a while ago. Because you have to go back to town meeting, one to reverse, and then to go at the same time at town meeting, go put another one in. So I think
Yeah.
we're looking at spring town meeting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was assuming that it would probably be the next one.
Okay, so you have to get onto the agenda with the CPC, with the CPA program as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, David. Anybody else?
Quick update. I've sent out emails to the board. I'm wearing my Mine at Forest hat, sorry.
Oh, Mine at Forest.
Mine at Forest. Red pine. This is for the benefit of the public watching. The logger did not fall into a rabbit hole. What happened was the wood chip plants shut down, the mills shut down. The last communication I have is that the mills are going to be open September 1st. That's the anticipation. So for those of you who have been wondering why those trees have not been cut down, the mills shut down their quotas because they were inundated with wood chips. And so just to let you know that we haven't forgotten, it will happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Mrs. Combs? Sorry, I didn't see your hand here.
See that? Glad to see you back and doing well.
Huh?
I said glad to see you back and doing well.
Thank you.
I was reading the paper, the Standard Times, and there was an article on Obama for the teacher layoffs, and other people that I was talking to, and we were discussing this. Why is it that we had to have a special voting day, and yet there is grants out there and funds? This was so that there'll be no teacher layoff. He put out $25 billion, so that there'll be no teacher
You
layoffs
talking about last year or this year?
this year. And
Okay.
why wasn't this brought forward to the selectmen, the school committee, so that we wouldn't, the taxpayers wouldn't have had to pay for that special voting that we had?
I don't have an answer for that. Anyone want to try to answer that question?
But the town looks great. We're dressing up the town great. We have a lot of stuff and a lot of things that are going on in the town. And it's great. I mean, everybody's doing a great job. Everybody's working hard. But who's going to work for the taxpayers here? Like with the sewer, we have not yet found anyone to look. Everybody on that committee knows what was done on contract 2. The unfairness, and no one has come up with a plan. No one, you're giving us 20 years to pay that betterment, but no one has come up with a plan to try to find a grant to maybe help us because of everything that was done that wasn't done fairly. And we have asked, are we becoming a town when people make decisions in the town, the decision makers, and don't want to own it, you have to sue to get what is rightfully yours, or to find the right, I mean,
Well,
We
first, let me stop you there because, again, leading statements like that make it sound like no one's doing anything.
Steve, we've been waiting. We've been waiting and
listen,
fighting this for a long
I'm not going to be
time.
fresh with you, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Trying to get federal money out of this government is very difficult right now. I personally have made phone calls up the federal chain and have asked to get communications open with Wareham to try to get some federal money for that sewer project. So don't sit there, please, and tell me that nobody's doing nothing, because
Okay.
that would not be a fact. Okay? I'm trying to be patient here, but misleading statements like that, we went over this 3 weeks ago. Misleading statements like that, I don't think they're appropriate. I
Okay.
wouldn't do that to you. Instead of asking the question, has anybody done anything to try to help the project? That would be the question to ask, not to sit there and say, nobody's done nothing.
We have asked
And I think
that.
there are other members on this board who have made
But Steve, we have
communications
asked
as well.
that. We have asked that. We've asked it over and over again.
Well, tonight you didn't ask it.
I
You just
didn't.
went right to
I did.
nobody's doing nothing.
I did. I didn't.
So-
But it's frustrating to us
Well, it's
because
very frustrating to us, too. We'd like for somebody to call me back tomorrow morning and say, Steve, we'll give you $3 million. I'd love for that phone call to come tomorrow, too. It's very difficult right now to get money out of the government, if you haven't noticed.
but we're finding money for everything else in the town. And it's
We're
frustrating.
finding money.
We're finding money to do many other projects in the town. Why can't we find some money
We're
for the
trying.
sewer?
There are people trying to do that.
Okay,
Mrs.
that's all we're asking for.
We're trying.
Okay.
Mrs. Begley? Did
No,
you?
I was just going to try to stop this,
Ah,
rather than a shut, it was kind of,
ah.
Well, I think it's a concern of everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else? That's it.
Mr. Chair, moving on to the Westfield discussion. I'm not sure. I
Derek, you wanna-
believe that the date
could
for
s-
bids,
You can actually sit over there if you want and give us an update on what you received for bids at the conference.
The bids closed. We received no bids from the RFPs that we had out. Simply there was no interest in it. We have to decide what's going to happen from there. But simply we didn't receive any inquiries except for some companies that just forward bids on to others. So no actual live inquiries on it.
thank you.
Comments? Mr. Slavin?
Obviously, we have a problem. If we have to go back to town meeting and reformulate what we're going to do, I think at this point, since we can't go forward, it probably would be at least the Westfield committee that we put together for the RFP. We probably should disband that and then decide how we're going to go forward, because we basically have to go back to square one.
I was thinking along the same lines. That anybody else?
Yeah.
That we go back to town meeting. I'll check with the moderator. I don't think we need a warrant article, but go back to town meeting here in October. Is she still here? With a report from the Board of Selectmen in terms of the warrant article that was passed, right? And give them a report of what we've attempted to do over the last year and a half. I mean, I think this is doable to bring affordable housing for the elderly to Wareham. It's certainly doable, but this particular approach is obviously not going to work. So, if the board is, I'd have to write something and get it ready. Could I ask the moderator while you're still here? Could you, Claire, if you wouldn't mind coming up here as the moderator for a second? I hate to put you on the spot, but, you know, we're tight on time. If the board wanted to present a report at town meeting back on the results of what they asked us to do,
I would
how
say,
would we,
I
how
would say
would
we
go about?
actually have a committee that's coming in that has to give a report on the dog bylaw or whatever
Right.
they've decided. So what we could do is do a warrant article to hear any and all reports and include that as part of that
Okay.
article.
And then we can, as a board, at least put out our time and what we've attempted to do 3 or 4 times. And then, so at least town meeting members would understand that nobody did nothing and we're coming back to you with some kind of an answer.
Right. We'll
So
just-
you would have a warrant article that talks about committees?
Right, actually,
committee
I'm
reports?
coming in this week to meet with Mr. Sullivan and Attorney Bowen, and, you know, as you're in charge of the warrant, so basically all we would need to do is insert an article that
Right.
says to hear any and all reports, and then we can include it under that. As long
Thank
as
you.
I know who's going to report, we'll
All right.
make sure you recognized.
Thank you.
Wait,
Mrs. Begley?
Yes, I just
Oh,
want to ask
hang
you,
on.
Mrs. Smith, a quick question. So, do you think that the wind bylaw committee would be one that would report as well? Because I really haven't heard anything from them. Is that a committee that you appointed as the appointing authority? Wasn't there?
They gave a report, I believe,
Some would
no?
argue that it wasn't a report.
Yeah. Let me look into that.
Thank you.
I'll look into that. I mean, I think they came before town meeting.
They did speak.
Okay.
Right.
Have they met? Do you know?
I have no, I'd have to go back and look to see what they've done. I honestly don't know.
That
I
would
mean,
be
once I make
great.
the appointment, I don't really have,
They gave
Right,
a
and
marketing
but that would be
speech.
They
great
come back.
because
Yeah.
you know things tend to fall through the
sure.
cracks here.
No,
Right.
I will, actually, I'm going to spend some time going back
We'll
through
work on that.
Okay.
the last few town meetings to do a report for
Great.
the town report that comes out yearly. So
Right.
as I'm going through that, I will look and see.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Excuse me, Madam Moderator. I think that when that was passed and voted at town meeting, they were going to come back at a set date and time, make a report, and that was the end of it, and the committee would be disbanded after that. So if they've made a report, then it's done.
Maybe we need to
Oh,
have our
God.
own.
I'll go back and just double check. I'll
Thank
look
you.
through my notes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Mr. Chair, we have 2 hearings that were advertised, one for 7:15
Let's do it.
for Vaughn Wedge.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximately, but
I
I
like
don't-
that, huh? Say it gives us a little bit of wiggle room.
a little bit of wiggle
All right.
room.
Let's do that.
Good evening.
So
You
I
don't even have to
move-
call you. You just come right up to the chair.
I heard my name. I thought that
How are
was
you,
my
Mr.
job.
Wedge?
I'm well, thank you.
I am going to make a motion that we open the public hearing
Have a
on
motion to...
the application of Vaughn Wedge, doing business as Wedge 2 Auto Sales, 3152 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, for a Class 2 license in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Have a motion to open the public hearing, seconded by Mr. Slavin. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. Mr. Wedge,
Yes.
tell us what you'd like to do, please.
I'd like to get apply for the used car license, buy and sell, go to the auction, try to get some decent cars and sell some decent cars.
And where is this exactly?
It's Cranberry Highway. It's right between, I believe it's Cohasset Road, Cranberry Highway, right there on the corner, by Mayflower Liquors.
Mr. Titlebaum, any questions?
I have no questions.
I also have, I don't know if, do you need these returned?
Yeah, to the office.
Oh, it goes to the office, okay.
Yeah. Mr. Slavin?
Mr. Wedge,
Sir.
on your facility, are you going to be doing repair work on the facility of the car?
Absolutely no repair work. I'm going to do no cleaning of vehicles, no nothing. Anything that's done will be done outside of there, no repairs at all.
So when you offer your warranty, how are you going to handle that?
I have a shop that will
Do
take
you
care
have
of all
someone
my, I
that
have
will-
a mechanic that will do all my work and anything that has to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
So you want a Class 2 license for one location, and you probably do the body work or et cetera at your second location?
I will not be doing it at my second location. I'm sending it out to have anything
Okay.
done that has to be done. It won't be done by myself personally.
Okay, but, so we're talking, just so that people know, because they know of your
Vaughn's Towing. This
Vaughn's
has
Towing,
absolutely nothing to do
and
with
you're only
that.
doing towing there.
That's correct.
So you're not going to do body work there?
I'm
'Cause
not
remember
gonna
we had
do
this conversation before
Repairs,
when you
correct.
wanted to be on the tow list.
Correct.
So you're only towing cars at that location. So when you're talking about a Class 2 license, you're talking about a different location, just so
That's
it's
correct.
clear to the listening public.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow?
This is down near Waterwiz, Bananas? No,
Further down.
Further down.
further.
Past Lindsay's
Lindsay's.
restaurant.
Okay. On the left or the right?
Left.
If I'm coming from,
Heading towards Cape Cod, it will be on your left.
okay.
Oh, boy.
Is this the old Auto Spirit?
No, it's
No,
not.
no.
No, that's
Way down.
that's
Across
way
the street
before
from
me.
the lobster pot.
Oh, okay.
The little home for animals that used to be on the corner there, Pet Paws or
Oh,
something.
oh, okay. I was trying to figure out where it was when I saw your diagram.
Okay. I'm not an artist.
What are the hours of operation, Mr. Wedge?
I'm going to be there from 9 to 3:30.
All right.
Every day.
Someone will be there?
Yes,
On
Monday
the
through
premises.
Friday, not every, Monday through Friday.
All right. Anything else? And you have sent out your notices to the public. Anyone would like to speak in favor or opposed to Mr. Wedge's proposal from the audience? Sir? Speak right into it.
Frank Kowzik, Indian Mound.
Frank?
Mr. Wedge, is there a building there at this location?
Yes.
Exactly what is it? Is it Mayflower Liquors?
No,
Is it
it's the
the
building.
storage yard?
Yes, the building's in front of the storage units.
The old video store?
Correct.
Oh, okay, thank you.
See, I'm not the only one that had a hard time figuring this one out.
Yeah, Frank is from down that way, so he knows. Anything else? Okay, motion to close the hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 500. Motion?
Mr. Chair, how many of these licenses are still available?
I believe we still have 3. Last check.
For a total of, do you know what the total is?
I think the total was 18.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
How many vehicles were you going to have on the lot at any one time?
8 on the lot.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm applying for 8, but probably 3 or 4
So
tops. 5.
maximum number of vehicles will be 8
Correct.
for sale?
Correct.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
Yeah. I was just checking one more thing. I move to approve the application by Vaughn Wedge, doing business as Wedge 2 Auto Sales at 3152 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, for a Class 2 license in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
I have a motion made by Mrs. Winslow,
Second.
second by Mrs. Begley. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained, 500. Congratulations, Mr. Wedge, and good luck on your new business venture.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
N-Star?
Mr. Chair, we have a petition from N-Star to install 5 poles on Farm to Market Road. Is there anybody here from N-Star? This is a non-advertised hearing.
Yes.
This is not a public hearing. This is a hearing with a utility company. Just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Would you just explain the repositioning of the poles or the addition of the poles, please?
Yes, NSTAR would like to place 5 poles on Farm to Market Road. The existing line that feeds that area has been experiencing issues that could have a negative impact on the customer services down there. So the construction of this line will improve the reliability of and provide a separate source of power from a different substation, and hopefully reduce outages and also provide additional options to restore power in the event of an outage.
Mr. Titlebaum, anything? Any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Slavin?
I believe that this has come before us because this is something that normally has not come before the board before. And this is just a standard procedure to go ahead and approve and sign. There's really no problem with the issue.
Mrs. Begley?
Just one quick question. There are no homeowners, or there's no easements or taking of easements or anything involved. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just wanted to be 100% sure in case someone came knocking on our door. Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow?
I don't have any comments, so I'll make a motion to approve the petition by NSTAR for the installation of 5 poles on Farm to Market Road.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, moving back up to the consent agenda, we have a bill from Blattman, Brabowski, and Mead, LLC, invoice number 7879, dated July 20th, 2012, in the amount of $15,000. I move to approve and pay.
Second by Mrs. Begley. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
We have appointments and interviews to the Trash Committee. We have 2 applicants for the Trash Committee.
Okay.
We have Mr. Kozak.
Good evening, Frank. How are you tonight?
Yeah, all right. No complaints.
If you want to just take a moment and tell us about your interest in serving on
I
the
got
Trash Committee.
One question first. Under item 9A, there's a mission statement for the Trash Committee. Is that something that's been done already, or is that something that's going to be done?
No, I think that there was just a little, what do you call that, Scribner's error? It was more meant for the
Okay.
board to appoint our member to the Trash Committee.
Okay.
And then that would be expected that as soon as that first meeting takes place, that there would be a mission statement that comes from the group, not issued out by a bunch of politicians.
That's the way I thought it should be.
Right.
Let me say this first. I think I got a little different approach to this than what I've heard so far. Most of the talking that I've heard about it this year and last year seem to be focused around the 4th of July and or another busy event weekend. And I'm here to tell you that if you put 20,000 people in a half a square mile area, such as Onset, keep them there to 4 to 6 hours, feed them, and then get them out. If you think that anybody's going to be able to do anything about that trash and stop on that trash, you're wrong, because it's going to happen. As a matter of fact, it's an indication that if there's a lot of it, that it was a good night. And the impact there should be in how quickly it's cleaned up. And from what I've seen from municipal maintenance, it's done by 8 o'clock the next morning. They do a stellar job. They really don't think that that's a problem. The problem is more with summer people getting rid of their rubbish and general rubbish. I don't know if the bylaw needs to be updated. The bylaw should be maybe looked at. And just throwing money at trash barrels isn't the answer. But I got a couple of ideas that may work. It's going to cost you money. No matter what you do, it's going to cost you money.
Well, listen, if you're appointed as a member of the committee, you have a checkbook. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
your wife told me that you would write a check for some of these things.
That's right.
But I'm
And
not supposed to mention
They
that.
can buy rubber tires with it, because it'll probably bounce.
All right, Frank. Let's start with some questions by the board. Mr. Titlebaum?
Thank you for your interest, and thank you for your comments about the notion of trash and onset. I think, though, that the board was hoping to look at this in a more comprehensive fashion than just dealing with trash in summer areas, and was hoping to approach problems of litter, problems that people who do come here in the summer don't have access to dump trash, that we don't really have any provisions in place for landlords who rent cottages to dispose of trash, and things of that nature. Are you prepared to serve on the committee and look at those areas as well?
That's part of what I think is wrong.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
Evening, Frank.
Good evening.
I have no questions.
Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for volunteering for this, because it is a huge issue. But I have to disagree with Selectman Titlebaum, because we do have, which I didn't know, there are provisions for summer residents or for people who rent out their places, and I didn't realize that we did have one company that does pay-as-you-throw.
Really? Who is that?
I can't remember the name of, it's on the website on the Board of Health, but we have certain waste management companies, and there's one pay-as-you-throw. You have to buy the special bags, so anybody, any of these landlords that rent out their places weekly or monthly could certainly purchase these bags and furnish it to their pay-as-you-throw.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so there's
that
one
was-
company, so if you go on the Board of Health website, you'll see which company that is. I think they're out of... They have a small percentage, because the Board of Health just had all of them in, and it's a small percentage, but their business is growing.
Wow.
Particularly with elderly who don't necessarily need weekly trash pickup or even bi-weekly trash pickup. They may have 1 or 2 bags a month. They can use pay-as-you-throw, and it's much less expensive.
Well, thank you for that. Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Kauzic.
Thank you.
2 things.
Sure.
First, are you a U.S. citizen?
Sure am.
I don't know when they're going to update these applications. And second, I agree with you that this problem is everywhere, and I'm going to say that I went to Shaw's last week, and along the side of Shaw's they store a bunch of carriages, and this happens at Walmart and all the other stores too. In those carriages is loaded with trash. And as the wind blew, the trash blew out of the carriages all over the parking lot. Now, I have a little 6-year-old, and she's big into not littering because they teach her this at school. So she ran around the parking lot picking up the disgusting trash and putting it in the barrel with her hands. Yes, gross. So I think this is a larger issue. And I know I've gone to big box stores and taken pictures of some of the trash that these commercial properties allow to build up on their properties and in their carriages, and forwarded them to the town administrator's office. And there's seemingly, so I'm very interested by your comment about the bylaw, there's seemingly nothing we can do about this. So I'll be very interested to see what comes out of this committee, because it's very disappointing to me that we have large, very wealthy retailers, and nobody's going to argue with me that Target and Walmart and these places don't make money, but yet they don't have enough money to clean up their property. And we have no enforcement mechanism in that. And all that trash, when the wind blows or the rain comes, leaves their property and eventually lands somewhere else, either on somebody else's property, on our beaches, or in our waterways.
Great.
My first priority would be to be honest with you, I've never looked at the bylaw, but my first priority would be to look at the bylaw and update it if necessary. Maybe put stiffer fines in there, but not use it as you would use a parking ticket if you see somebody do something give them a ticket. Use it as a deterrent, a last-ditch deterrent. But make sure that the bylaw was legal and vetted so that if you did use it, it wouldn't be appealed, and that would be it. You'd pay your fine, and you'd do whatever you have to do. This would be used for the clowns that throw furniture on the side of Charge Pond Road, and people that throw bags of rubbish that are caught or go through and pick up the rubbish. The guy
I
that
noticed they do that on the Wareham what's that other road that Cumberland Farms is?
Oh, Charlotte Furnace Road,
Charlotte Furnace
Yeah.
Road is another one.
And they always
that's a
throw
big
that on
problem.
the Wareham side of that line.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
throw it on the Carver side. They throw it on the Wareham
I
side.
bet your Carver's got a higher fine if they're caught. That's somebody, there's no mercy. You just write them a ticket, throw them the fine.
Is there anything else? Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we also have an application from Mr. Willis.
And you'll notice on the form, it has been updated. Look at Mr. Willis's form.
Oh, maybe this one was. Oh, this one isn't the new form, though.
See it?
Well, no, I haven't.
Ask right on there, are you a U.S. citizen?
I haven't pulled out, Mr. Oh, well,
See it?
good job, Mr. Chairman.
Somebody listened to that.
Somebody did. Are you a U.S. citizen?
At
Look
least it
at that,
didn't say, "Are
folks.
you a
Can you get a
mission
close-up
statement?"
on that, WCTV? Good job.
Doesn't say, are you a mission statement?
No.
No. Mr. Willis, good evening.
Good evening.
If you'd like to express your interest in the being a member of the trash committee, please.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes or less.
Well, unlike Mr. Kauzic, I respectfully disagree with a lot of his statements. And he obviously hasn't seen any of my photography regarding litter on Onset Beach. When you consider more litter is a good thing, sign of something good. It isn't. And what I'm asking is, I've laid this out before. I do have goals and priorities. And it starts with adopting the broken windows theory, which we talked about last year with the police chief and so forth. And it talks about enforcing littering, like Mr. Kauzic said, not just for the sofas on the side of the road, but right on our beaches. And yes, the household trash that people take advantage of our town barrels and do it that way. And I do believe we need to acquire new equipment. We've acquired some, but we still don't have enough. There's not enough for the people to come to visit. There just isn't. We need to work with CETA and try to show a need, which I've shown time and time again, and just find different areas, donations, fundraising, grants to address this problem. Top of the list should be reform trash removal collection times on weekends and summer high peak months. Has to be, I disagree, by 8 o'clock the next morning is acceptable. It isn't. We have a rodent problem and the whole town's aware of it. We need to address reforming collection times. And or find a way to keep the trash in the barrels via dumpsters or solar-powered trash compact or something that can hold more trash. If it can hold it and retain it, then the next day is fine. If it can't, then it's not. We need to address all types of maintenance issues. Brushback cutting on all major streets and sidewalks. You can't even walk down the street, you know, to get to Walmart. You can't walk down Minot Avenue. There's Sandwich Road. That just goes on that the brush and you know, what NSTAR and did, butchered the trees. I mean, it just goes on. And I'd like to introduce resident permit parking and paid parking for all the beaches. It's going to generate revenue. You know, how are we going to pay for this? Let's generate some revenue.
Agreed.
To place value on our community as the hidden gem of the South Coast, which it is. To maintain and improve the local economy, to invite people, don't scare them away with a look that says we don't care.
Now, I will say this, that I believe it was at our last meeting, someone came up, I don't know if it was Sandy, was it you? Talked about the gutters, and I got into my podunk thing. And I will say this, that over the last couple of weeks, especially on Onset Avenue, I've noticed some of our elderly neighbors out there with weed whackers and, scrapers and things to get that growth out from around
I mean,
their-
it's
their
definitely
curbs.
going to be up to
So
every
we've seen
individual.
some people that are listening,
Yeah.
and if they do a little piece in front of their house, and maybe the elderly person next door, everybody, I have noticed a little bit of that going on. I don't know if anybody else
It's
has noticed it
contagious.
driving
You
around.
plant a flower, your neighbor wants to plant a flower. It is
Right.
contagious.
It
But-
is. So I think that those are all great ideas. Let me go around the table with any questions, David. Mr. Titlebaum?
Well, thank you
guys-
for your
you don't mind
interest.
if I
We
start?
kind of suspected you might be appearing before us with an application, given your significant number of appearances before this board to discuss the issue. And I'm glad to see that you're looking to step up and try to address it in a constructive fashion by applying for this committee.
If you hadn't applied, a lot of people would have hunted you down. You realize that after all your appearances
Right,
here.
absolutely.
Mr. Slavin?
Hi, David.
Hi.
My one question really would be more or less the functioning of a committee. Usually you're going to have anywhere from 5 to 7 people. I think this one is 7. A lot of different personalities, different thought process. You're going to be able to give in a little bit?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as, being appointed the committee means I have an equal voice.
Everybody has
Absolutely.
an equal voice.
So,
Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
Hi, Mr. Willis.
Hi.
Mr. Slavin certainly just, that was my concern. I understand your passion for anti-litter. I understand it. But I'm very hopeful that you will be one member of a 7-member board, and that you won't let your passion get the best of you if you don't win all of the discussions. That's my concern. Wait, let me finish. But because I think you have a lot to offer, but I think that the other 6 members do as well. So, and I
Absolutely.
know that you have a lot of ideas because you've brought them before this board. But hear this, and I know that you're saying you have these ideas for raising revenue and approaching CETA. The town doesn't have any money. That's the way it is. And this certainly, if this committee can do nothing more than engage the majority of our community to be engaged in anti-litter, you will have accomplished a great thing. Because I think that's where it's going to be, is that the community needs to be motivated.
Well, I appreciate your concerns, Ms. Begley, but we're here today because I've been able to articulate my point and have a conversation. So I appreciate that, but we're going to move forward.
Oh, absolutely, we're going to move forward, but I am expressing the concerns now because I don't want to be expressing them later.
I don't believe you will be. Again, we're here today because I've been able to articulate my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Winslow? Don't ask him. It's on the form.
No, I'm not going to ask him.
Somebody will get mad at you if you ask him. It's on the form. You checked it off.
He did.
So now you don't have any questions, see?
I have a comment.
Oh.
Thank you.
Comments are fine.
Mr. Willis, I do share those concerns, and I just want to be, really upfront with you, because I've always been very upfront with you that I think a lot of your ideas have a lot of merit, and I'm just not sure that in this day and age, with the constraints that we have, that they're going to be feasible. So I'm really hoping that those types of things become long-term goals from this committee with some constructive ideas. But I know that you and I have bickered back and forth up here on TV, and that's what I don't want to see happen. I really want you, since you're the one that brought this to the forefront, I really want you to be a productive, participating member of a 7-person
That's why I'm here.
Good.
And I'm really good at ignoring no.
I understand that, and that's what I'm worried about.
No, that's what's going to get us to move forward. We're
But no,
here.
that's
You've
not-
agreed to form the committee, which is the first step because you've recognized the problem. Now the next step is the committee. So let's just take it one step at a time. It's baby steps, like Steve said. So I'm prepared to take baby steps, but yes, it is a long-term plan. It
It's-
has to be a long-term plan, just like the bike path. They've been at this for 6 years and haven't put a bike path down. So
I understand that, but we need a long-term plan with short-term solutions. So no is going to be a part of this in the beginning.
But
And you're
my
gonna have to
point by
take a
saying
deep
that you can't be
breath.
deterred by saying people saying no. That's why I'm still here.
Well, I understand that, but I don't want that non-deterrence to be disruptive to the work that the committee needs to accomplish.
It won't be. There's
Okay.
always solutions.
Thank you.
Always. We done?
I just want to say that, you know, I'm happy that you decided to apply, because if you didn't, you would have been hunted down like a dog. You know, and I'll make this comment too, that we just got this list back, I guess, that, you know, Mark Gifford is on this group. Gary Buckminster is actually going to serve himself, which I'm happy to see. The chief has appointed John Walczek, lieutenant, and John is great to work with. He's worked on many projects in the town. Great guy to work with, and very resourceful person as well. And then it looks like the school department has sent Mike Flaherty. And Mike, I don't know if you know Mike, but you know, he's worked on a great many different things in terms of bylaws and solutions for crime and other things. So I think we have the great workings of a group here that my only concern is that it's action oriented and we get things done. And I'm sure that with this group of people that's going to happen. We're not going to take no for an answer.
Is there a reason why Board of Health and Conservation's not being
we
asked
tried
to
to
be a
keep
member?
The committee, and I don't want to get into committee business, but the committee can always bring in anybody they want. Bring in Mr. Ethier for certain meetings, get information. The town is at our disposal.
I just
but
think
in
that it
terms of the
definitely
actual,
touches on conservation.
Yeah, the actual group, I wasn't here that night, but I think, you know, we probably had 12 good choices to serve on the committee. But once you get a committee of more than 8 people, it becomes a nightmare.
I agree.
But you can always use, these people are all available to be used as resources for any other projects or any information or anything that comes up. So, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we did not get any appointment certificates for these positions in the folder.
Now, and what was the I think they were in the last folder, maybe. What was the terms on this group? Do you remember?
I don't think that
I don't
we had
think that we
determined terms.
set terms.
Just, do you think we did? I don't think we did.
There were no terms? All right. Well, maybe that's what we'll do. You can't appoint without an expiration date.
Right.
With the, well, actually we can. With the makeup of the group, you have 1, 2, 3, 3 employees. No, you don't. No, that's what I'm saying, because you have continuation. So what if we said a 2-year term?
For the citizens at large, because we don't have to put
No, we
terms
don't have
on the
to on the others,
employees
no.
or the school committee, because it would be their
No.
designee.
Right.
Same as the Board of Selectmen. So
We
we
only
just
need a-
really need the term limits for the 2
That's
citizens
correct,
at
yeah.
large.
2 years? Does that work? Does that work?
And I don't.
Oh, it works for me.
Okay, so I'll
All right.
I have some people holding up fingers for 1 year. No. Can't get it done in a year. That's right. I'm kind of favoring 3.
3 years?
All right, 2.
delay on the action part.
So it would be
2
2015.
years is fine for me. That works.
That's fine.
Initially. We'll change it as we need to.
So it would be June 30th, 2014?
Yes.
I move to appoint Frank Kauzic to the Trash Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made and seconded on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained, 500.
I move to appoint David Willis to the Trash Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained, 500.
And just so those two individuals know, we don't have the certificates tonight, so they'll have to be signed. We'll have to sign them before you can.
Thank
I
you
know.
very much.
Just so you're not disappointed.
But all members have to take ethics training, is that correct?
Yeah, they have to get
Ethics, yeah.
sworn in.
Sworn
They
in,
get sworn in and all
ethics
that.
training, et cetera.
Yeah. They'll
Next.
have the paperwork
Town clerk
done
will have all that for him.
in the office.
Mr. Chair, do we want to appoint the Board of Selectmen
Yeah, I was
member
just going to do that now while we're on the subject.
since we're there?
Well, I have a real interest in this one.
Yeah.
It's part of my daughter's school curriculum. We work on projects about litter.
But you're only available Thursdays and Friday. Well, evenings you are.
Evenings I'm available.
I'm interested in this being an action-oriented committee.
Yeah.
That's my interest. Not interested in, I've heard things already that, oh, don't take no for an answer, we don't have this. I've heard a lot of negative things already that are kind of putting roadblocks in front of the committee. I don't happen to have any of those. So my concern is that I'd like the representative of this board be a positive action mover of things and not somebody that says we don't have money or we can't do that.
Well,
I'm concerned about that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, first of all, we don't have a great deal of money to invest in these solutions. They have to be solutions that are low cost or changing the way that we do things, such as changing our bylaws, ticketing that we may not be doing now. All those things have to be looked at. I don't think that it's negative, to be honest with a committee up front, that should they come to us with high price tag proposals, that there is no money budgeted for this.
Well, then it's up to, there's an opportunity to find revenue sources to accomplish these things.
Well, but if that's something the committee chooses to discuss, then that's up to the committee. But there isn't a line item in the budget for us to, we were lucky to get a grant to put in the trash barrels. The Harbor Masters Department was able to find some money, and they've gotten some other funds through
just don't want
CMAS.
this- I-
Well,
my only-
then don't appoint me.
My only concern is I don't want this to become a political body that doesn't.
Then I withdraw my interest.
I'm
Thank
not-
you.
I'm not interested in having
not
a
interested anymore.
political thing. We're trying to get some things done. And by
Then
starting,
you do it. I move that the Mr. Chairman serve
I
on the
have-
trash committee as the selectman.
I would have no problem doing that
Then you do it.
if the board votes me in.
Second.
Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?
Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
item 9A, we have down mission statement. I believe that's supposed to be policy statement. In a previous meeting, I think 2 meetings ago,
Yeah,
I think
that's-
I brought up the issue that we should set up some kind of policy to help guide the trash committee to some basic parameters. And we were supposed to, at this meeting, have a list and come up with something.
Well, it was, Mr. Chair, if I might, all I saw was mission statement for trash committee, so,
It was 2 weeks, I think 3 weeks ago, not the last meeting, but the one
right, but I
in July.
didn't come up with a list because it was unclear to me on the agenda.
Yeah.
So,
I do have one.
well, I don't feel I
Would
can,
you-
I
would
don't
you
feel
get
I
that
can
in email
actively,
for me?
I can. Do you want, I can read it, I can just read it out, but then we can discuss it later. When we get to 9, if you
Well,
want.
I kind of would like an opportunity to to have my own as well, to have my own input. So if we could put this on a future agenda, that would be helpful.
Next meeting,
Next meeting? Next meeting, can we do that? The list
policy
Yeah, would you
statement.
for policy?
Yep, I'll email it to everybody.
And then I'm sure the committee will have a statement as well, a mission statement based on the policy, right?
9A is done.
Next up.
We have an appointment for the associate member to the Board of Health.
Okay.
Mrs. Finney's not here.
Did we
Well,
receive?
the interviews have already been done.
Yeah.
The interviews are done.
Neither was Mr. Mulcairn.
We have a recommendation by the Board of Health. The Board of Health has recommended Kathy Finney as the associate member to the Board of Health at a regularly scheduled meeting on August 1st, 2012. So I will move to appoint Catherine Finney to an associate member to the Board of Health for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. On the question? Mrs. Begley, anything? Were you there when they did
I was
that?
there when they interviewed. Mrs. Finney was interviewed before she had actually submitted an application, so they
Right.
didn't have an application at the Board of Health. And I happened to, I was supportive of another gentleman who has submitted multiple applications and was an elected member of the Board of Health in another town for 6 years, so I'm not sure why they have another candidate there, but I'm not particularly supportive.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we have a motion made, seconded on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
4, 1 abstain, 0.
On the Library Board of Trustees, we have an interview for Bob White, who has submitted an application.
We already interviewed him. We already interviewed him, no?
We did? We interviewed you?
In May. No, not in May. Did we interview for the library?
Did we interview for the Library Board of Trustees? No,
No, he's back there.
the chairman says that he hadn't submitted a formal application as of the time of the for writing of the recommendations, which was just the other day, last week.
So, Bob, have we interviewed you? I don't believe so. Come on up. Come on up.
Yeah, come
Come
on
on
up.
up.
I don't think we did. Because you filled out a new application, because
Did we interview for you for something?
You could have.
Oh, the cable committee. Okay, got it.
Good evening. I'm Bob White. I'm interested in a position on the Library Board of Trustees. I'm an avid user of the library, and I believe that that's one of the gems that this community can offer and has offered. And I'd like to be part of the leadership and management of the library from a trustee point of view. And I am a citizen.
I know it's on the application.
Wow, you got a new form. It's good. Questions from the board? Mr. Titlebaum?
Thank you for your interest. No questions.
You're welcome.
Mr. Slavin?
Evening, Bob. I've worked with
Evening.
Bob for quite a few years now, so I have no questions.
Mrs. Begley?
I don't think I have any questions. We've interviewed you for a few things, so it's all good.
Mrs. Winslow?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Mr. White? Thank you very much. That was
Thank you,
short
ladies and
sweet.
gentlemen.
Thank
Would
you.
Anything else you'd like to add to the
Not at this
conversation?
point, but I'll be back and talk to you about some other things later at another time.
All right, very good.
Okay. We didn't? Is he here tonight? Mr. Bakiri?
Yeah, he's right here.
Yeah, he didn't come the last time.
Oh.
I think she said they're invited tonight, not uninvited. For an interview. See the top
Must be
line?
that positive
Hi,
negative
Mr.
thing.
Carey.
Good evening. If you could just take a moment and explain your interest in serving on the Library Board of Trustees, sir.
Sure. I'm a lifelong summer resident of Wareham, retired twice from the military and once as a small college faculty member. Wherever I've lived, I've always been involved with the community in one way or the other. Since becoming a full-time resident again here in Wareham, I wasn't doing a whole lot and was very concerned a couple of years ago when the accreditation of the library was threatened. And then when I spotted the article in the weekly newspaper here back, April or so, saying you were looking for a couple of trustee applications, I decided that was something I could probably do.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Titlebaum?
Thank you for your interest.
Sorry.
Mr. Slavin?
As far as the library goes, is there any issues as far as being able to participate on a monthly basis?
No.
That's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
It's easy.
Mr. Bakari, have you attended 3 library trustee meetings?
Yes.
And you have the time
Yes.
to serve? Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow?
Are you a U.S. citizen?
I am.
Great.
He's a retired Air Force.
Doesn't mean anything.
Well, it means quite a bit.
Well, the retired Air Force part, but that doesn't... Okay, the Library Board of Trustees has...
Thank you very much, sir,
thank you.
for your interest.
Can we, was that the last interview?
Yes, because we already interviewed Mr. Davies.
There are 2 vacancies that exist.
The Library Board of Trustees has sent a letter which basically states that they would be happy with any of the candidates. They are concerned because Mr. Davies, and we spoke about this at his interview, he does travel 5 months out of the year, and we do already have another member on the board that's unavailable for at least 4 months out of the year. So they had some concerns about quorums and things because sometimes it can be tough to get them. Other than that, they made recommendations for, Mr. White hadn't formally applied, but they said they felt he'd be a great fit. So I guess we start with Mr. Bakari, who's the first on their list, and I'll move to appoint Mr. Bakari to the Library Board of Trustees for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? 500.
I would, I won't make the motion. I will if you want me to, but I would recommend Mr. White, given their reservations. And I know that one of the members had expressed concern to me, and it was the member that is out of town for 5 months out of the year. So having 2 members, they may have difficulty with the quorum, given with the other things that happen.
Yeah. This is an issue I think we're going to need to look at. I think probably you got the same email I may have got from the one member that goes to Florida. And they were asking, because I guess the open meeting law, there's been availability where you can do electronic is acceptable. And it depends if the Board of Selectmen want to consider it or not. And the individual boards can consider it also. It's not here tonight, but it's something in the future.
Well,
Is that a motion
No.
to nominate or
I'll let,
appoint?
you have the paperwork. I'll let you make the motion, if you don't mind.
I move to appoint William White to the Library Board of Trustees for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Have a motion made and seconded to appoint Bob White. Question? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstained? 500.
I'm going to abstain just on the issue of bias.
Sorry?
I'm going to abstain on the issue of bias.
401. Okay. Thank you very much, and congratulations to those members who are appointed. Please be sure to go by Town Hall and sign all the paperwork and get sworn in. Okay, next up.
Next, we have the Board of Selectmen liaison to the Audit Committee, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps that should be you also.
Not interested.
No. That's up to the board.
I would like to do that since I have training in that field, if that's acceptable to the board.
I would go along with that as well. I have no interest or experience or skill in the slightest, so.
I have a question because it's been a while since we've met. Who's on this audit committee again? Can you remind me, please?
Let me see if they sent us a list. I believe it was Capital Planning, Finance, Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, member at large.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
So, Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and one member at large by merit from the community having experience in auditing, accounting, financial management.
So it's just 3?
3. That again follows state how the state normally recommends it. This is directly out of the DOR. No, 3.
Board of Selectmen. Finance.
Member at large.
Oh, I thought there was one other.
No.
Oh.
That's what we agreed to before.
And who's appointing the member at large?
We do.
Okay. And are these public meetings since it's an audit committee?
Absolutely.
So they'll be posted, et cetera, et cetera?
Same as always.
All right, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. If it
So have
it
we
follows
received,
the DOR.
have we received any applications for the audit committee? I thought,
No.
Not yet.
okay.
Well, I think we need to make
Reach
it
out.
public. We'll do that tonight.
Mr. Chair, if you'd like, I'll repeat what we had approved. The member at large was going to be, let's see if I can find it here. Should preferably be a qualified Wareham voters and have appropriate work experience and professional background in accounting and finance.
What was the first part, Mr. Slavin?
Qualified Wareham voter.
Oh, they have, I mean, anybody that serves on a committee in town.
It's just the way we word it, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Full-time resident, everybody, and a registered voter or
Or can vote.
qualified to be a registered voter in the town of Wareham,
Correct.
which means summer residents, et cetera, are ineligible for this committee.
Unless they're registered to vote here.
That's not really a summer resident then.
That's right.
What is the requirement? Registered to vote?
Qualified means they can actually apply to vote or they are a voter.
They're not a registered voter elsewhere.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so that seat is open. We're asking for submissions of applications. You can do that online on our website, or you can stop by the office and fill out a new application, which will ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. All right, back to our liaison for that group. Anybody else? Motion?
I move to appoint Alan to the Board of Selectmen liaison for the Audit Committee.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, seconded by Peter. Question? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstain, 500. Huh?
I abstain.
Oh,
Can't vote for myself.
401. Okay.
Next up, interview for cemetery commissioners. We have one application. Mrs. Ekstrom?
Good evening.
I'm sorry?
I am the current cemetery commissioner.
Yeah.
They asked me to come up. You guys are making her terribly nervous.
I'm sorry? You need somebody to... Whatever. Would you explain to the board your interest in serving on the sewer commission? Cemetery Commissioners.
Cemetery Commissioner. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. About 14 months ago, Nancy Miller had approached me after I was no longer a selectman and asked me, there was an opening as a cemetery commissioner. One of the members had decided not to renew their appointment. And at the time I had told her no, and had suggested that she try to, ask other people. And through the course of the next probably year, off and on, every time I saw her, she'd say to me, I still have that opening, I still can't find anyone. This past June, the second member of the committee, bless you, the second member of the committee out of the three-member board or commission, they decided not to seek reappointment. And so that left Nancy without a quorum. So once again, she had called me, and I suggested that she look for other people. And it wasn't until 2 meetings ago, and I mean this with no disrespect to this board because it was an awkward position, but when this board had to act as cemetery commissioners, and you were sitting here in an open meeting that's being televised discussing burial plots and the size of plots, and I think Mrs. Winslow did an excellent job avoiding any personal information in those motions, but you could certainly, I could see that it was, that she was using extreme care to get enough information in a motion to make it valid, but to try to keep it private. And I just thought, thinking of the family out there that's going through something like that, and having that on the air and knowing how it was for you guys. I saw Nancy the next week at the special election, and she had told me that she still didn't have anyone, so I told her that I would apply to give her a quorum, and then also to bring more light to it. I know that every time I've talked to somebody about it, they've said, oh, Nancy asked me, but I don't have time. Nancy's asked me, but I don't want to do it or whatever. So that hopefully we can get on with the business of the cemetery commissioners, and while we look for another person to fill that other seat. Thanks.
Mr. Titlebaum?
I don't have any questions. Thanks for your interest.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
No questions.
Mrs. Begley?
No questions. I just appreciate that you applied, given that Nancy can be relentless. But it took a great deal of discretion for that time, and it is a very, very sensitive time. And we haven't been inundated with applications for cemetery commissioners, but it's a very, very important commission in this town. Thank you.
Are you
Mrs. Winslow?
a U.S. citizen?
I am a U.S. citizen and a registered voter in the town of Wareham.
Oh, good. Well, you are correct. That evening was very difficult, and that particular situation was very difficult, and there was absolutely no joy in it.
Absolutely.
Certainly being a mother myself, my heart broke for what we had to do that night.
Mine too.
But if there's no other questions, then
thank you.
You're free to leave the hot seat.
Well, nothing from the chairman?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, we don't make the motions with the people sitting at the chair. Yep. So I have to get out the folder. I move to appoint Brenda Ekstrom to the Cemetery Commissioners for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
I have a motion made by Mrs. Winslow, seconded by Mrs. Begley. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Next, we have a proclamation for National Gymnastics Day. Is there somebody here for this? No? Okay, so I will read the proclamation into the record.
Yeah, they will be here.
Are they coming?
They will be here at our next meeting. I
Okay,
believe.
so we should wait?
Well, we need to make sure we get it signed.
It's not here in the folder.
I forget what. Yeah, they couldn't make it tonight. We
Okay.
should make sure that we get it signed and approved by the board, and then they'll be in at our next meeting to get it.
Okay. Just make sure that you stop by the town hall to sign it.
All right.
Okay, so we have sewer business, discussion regarding a sewer tie-in on Onset Ave.
Good evening. I thought Alban would be here, but I guess he isn't. I have a letter inviting him.
I'm sorry?
I thought Alban, the applicant, would be here. But what they're asking is to tie in, I believe it's in your packet, the property they're tying in. Simply, sewer's available. We're suggesting they do something like a low-pressure system because it's such a distance off the road. And he meets, I guess he needs our permission to move forward to the other committees. It's a sensitive piece of land, and I don't know what, they're going to build a house there. But sewer is available, and he can bring a line to it. So I think what he's asking us is just permission to tie in so he can move forward with the rest of the permitting process to build a house there for his client.
What's your recommendation, Mr.?
Well, first of all, sewer's available. If the lot's buildable, then, and he needs to build, then Title V says that if sewer's available, he ties in.
All right.
So my recommendation would be to grant permission to tie in, and then let him seek everything, with provision that he gets all the permits and things he needs from the town to be able to build.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mrs. Begley?
I kind of looked at the lot, Guy.
Yep.
And, sewering a lot doesn't make it buildable. Was this on the original plan? On the original plan to sewer Onset Ave? Was this lot?
I don't know, I'd have to look. The lot is always there. I can't answer that question specifically because it's vacant. If a vacant lot is buildable, usually we leave a lateral, but seeing it's so far off the road, I don't think we would have because it's right away to the property.
All right, so we
may
don't
not
know
have.
if it was on the original plan.
I do not know.
Okay,
Where
so
is
that's...
that on Onset Avenue?
Hmm?
Helen, where
It's
is
on it.
that?
It's not far from Fresh Meadow.
Well,
It's on that side of the street.
it-
You know where Fresh Meadow is?
Same
on the
side as
left.
Stevie B's on
Yeah.
that side? Okay.
Yeah, if you-
It's
if you
down.
cut-
It's
yeah,
down that way, and there's two lots that were in this proposal, and the one isn't really a lot. It's crossing there's a section of land in front of all those properties on the Oak Grove School side that were old trolley tracks. So
Yeah.
that's one of the lots that it would have to cross.
101.
Then the lot that they're talking about is a nearly 12-acre lot, but less than 50% of it, like only 4 acres of it is upland, the rest is wetlands.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things. One, if it wasn't in the original plan, if it was in the original plan, that would be one thing. But if it wasn't in the original plan, and Concom and planning, I'm not sure that if they said to us, we would approve this lot if it were sewered. I don't want to approve sewer and then go to the other committees, because from what I understand, zoning, 50% of the lot has to be upland.
That's not my field expertise. I know there's 4 acres there. I know that he wouldn't be allowed to put a septic because sewer's available. So that's
But
some
it's a
facts that I
12-acre,
know.
my point is that it's a 12-acre lot, and I want to know, is this for a single residence? We've already been caught at that.
It's a single-family
'cause
home
we've
he's
alre-
applying for.
We
yes,
were
ma'am.
already caught at that with 2 duplexes.
Oh, absolutely.
That they wide off of each, and they want to do it with one lateral. So I guess I'm reluctant to approve it conditional on Concom and planning. I'd rather they do it conditional and come back to us, that's my personal opinion, and come back for sewer.
I'm not quite sure how that works. In other words, if Concom said, listen, that's a beautiful plan, as long as you have sewer, build it, we know that sewer's available. It's there on Onset Ave. It is available, and there is a way to get there from that particular piece of property. So all I'm saying is that it's there. Concom would not approve it for septic because, according to Title V, that if sewer's available, he has to go that route.
So this would be a development fee,
It'd be a sewer development. Yes, it'd be sewer development fee. Absolutely. All
and they would
provisions.
also have to pay because that's a long distance. The right of way.
It's all on them, ma'am. It's all on them. Everything's on
Right.
them. We're paying for nothing.
Because what I see here is, it's several hundred feet.
Yeah, that'd be his cost. Now, however he gets there is his business. Like, if it was several thousand feet, that'd be his cost to get it from the house all the way to our sewer, and then even tying into the sewer. That's all on him. It's not our responsibility. We just have it available. We'll make sure that it connects properly, but every bit of cost is on him. And we have to see whatever provisions, whatever policies apply to it. But we pay for nothing. This is his doing, not ours. So he's responsible for it.
Mrs. Winslow? Anything?
Well, these issues certainly, raise concerns, and
I agree 100%.
this is why a board of SOAR commissioners, as was, put forth by town meeting, is important, because I am no expert in this. And quite frankly, I'm not inclined to make a decision on this tonight until I have a chance to really, sit down and look at this. I don't want to make a mistake. And I think it's very easy in a situation like this to make a bad decision because you simply don't understand it.
Mr. Titlebaum?
This board is the Board of Selectmen. We're not the Conservation Commission. We're not the Zoning Board of Appeals if somebody needs a variance. We're not the Planning Board. We're none of those things. Any construction that would take place out here would go to inspectional services. They would take a look at the property, and then they would refer the person for the various sign-offs from the various boards. I don't see that it's really within our jurisdiction to consider the Wetlands Protection Act, or whether it's within our jurisdiction to concern ourselves with the amount of frontage that's out on Onset Avenue. So I would be inclined to support this to the extent that we're saying you can have a sewer tie-in, but that's as far as we're going with it. You've got to get obviously all of your other approvals before you can go ahead with the project. So that's just my viewpoint. I just think that we have these boards in town to handle these other issues, and it's incumbent upon them to enforce those laws, not us.
I agree.
Mr. Slavin?
Guy, the 30-foot way, that's where the line's going to come in?
Correct. It'll go
and come up into the pie shape area on the
straight
inside?
up into the big oval, yes.
So they basically have enough land area to put a single-family house anyways then. I'm going to agree with Mr. Titlebaum. Normally what happens here is that they have sewer hookup available to them, but that's as far as it goes. It gives them no rights for anything at all. They have to go before, with a 30-foot frontage, they're going to have to go for the ZBA for a variance. That doesn't qualify for the planning board at all. So they're going to have to go through a bunch of procedures. Plus, with the marshlands, you're going to have conservation as well, but there's no question it's going to be a ZBA decision. So whether we give them or not give them sewer, they have to go for different areas. So I don't have a problem with doing this.
Well, then my question would be through you, Mr. Chair, why, if they're going to need to go to the ZBA and they're going to need to go to Concom and they're going to need to go to planning and all these other boards, what's the rush for us to make a decision about this tonight? They may not get past some of those boards.
Well, if they want to go ahead and pay a guy a fee to hook up and stuff, as far as, the betterment fee, that's up to them.
Well, that's up to them, but what I'm saying is that this sounds to me like they've got months' worth of meetings ahead of them to even get the proper permits in place for the build.
Bottom line is we can give them the right to hook up, whether they actually can put a house in there or something else.
Why would we do that?
Why not?
It saves the applicant money if they were to go through the entire process of hiring an engineer, going to Concom, possibly an attorney as well, doing the same thing with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They go through all those processes, the technical processes to get this done, to get the permissions that they need. Then they were to come to us and we said, nah, we're not going to do it. They are out a significant sum of money. So we're not a body that sits here and makes technical judgments as to the merits of the property. It's a question of, is sewer available, and if so, are we going to offer them a tie-in? That's really the scope of our inquiry. That's as far as it needs to go. And if we do that first, then it's up to them if they want to go ahead and spend the money for to hire the consultants, the engineers, the lawyers, whatever they've got to hire to get past the other boards in town. But it doesn't make sense from a development perspective ever to go through all that expense and then come to the selectmen and get shot down.
Well, but into that I would say, if the sewer line runs past there, then this board, it's incumbent upon this board, if they have the proper permits, to grant them a sewer tie-in. We have no basis to deny it at that point. Do we not? If we were to deny it, they can't put septic in there because the sewer line goes by, then we would have a potential liability on our hand.
Well, that's possibly true, but I would suggest that we approach this from the other side of the coin, which is, you know, it doesn't cost us anything. We're not telling the other boards how to function by doing this. We're not putting our imprimatur or any stamp of approval on them doing this. We're saying, if you build a house, if you get to build a house, you can hook up to sewer. And that's as far as it goes with us. So.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if they come to us with the permits, we have no legal basis for which to deny them the hookup. So why do we have to do it tonight?
Why do we have to do it ever? If it's automatic, then why are we ever going to do it? If we cannot deny them, then why would they waste
You
it?
give me a solid legal argument that we can deny somebody a permit when a sewer line goes by their house and they're not eligible for septic.
I can't, but it'd be procedural. I would think they have to come to the board for permission.
They do, but
I
why are they
understand.
coming at the beginning of the process instead of the end? That's what I want to know.
I can't speak for them, but I understood it to be
Because what
just-
I don't want, Mr. Campina, is for us to give them permission and them to go to the other boards and say, well, you know, we've got this permission. This should be decided by these other boards based on the merit of their plans.
For building. This
For
is
building.
sewer. This is just for the ability
I understand
to
that, but
tie
there's
in,
no need for them to get a tie-in at this point. Right now, all that we have is a rough drawing.
I think we've done it in the past. We've given permission to tie in.
That
and
doesn't
then
mean it
people-
was right.
It doesn't mean it was wrong, but it's been the way the procedure's been. People come to us, ask for a tie-in, then they move forward. It's as simple
I've
as
seen
that.
people come to us and ask for our approval for things and go to boards and pretend like we just handed them the golden key.
It's not a golden key to tie in. It's yes. there's no
I'm
golden
just
key.
telling you, I think
I
that
don't
this
see the
this
go-
process, this is something that needs to happen towards the end of the process and not the beginning.
Well, that's the board's privilege. I'm not telling the board how to act. All I'm saying is that sewer's there. They've asked us if we can tie in. I can't grant that permission. I told them we have to come from in front of the board to get permission to tie in, and then they can move forward to whatever they have to do. And of course, we can tell them to tie in, but if the rest of the town, the rest of the committee say you cannot build, then it's moot. But that's just part of the procedure. That's all I'm saying. However you want to handle it, certainly fine with me. They just asked if they could, and I couldn't grant that permission. And I'm here tonight saying they would like to tie in. They'd like to move forward. Do we grant it? Do we not grant it? Whatever you choose to do is what we'll do.
Right. It just makes it easier in the process.
I agree.
All right. Anything else? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow tie-in for, on map 16 lots, 118, 138 Onset Ave, and I don't have a name here, Mr. Alvin R. Johnson, and allow a tie-in for that particular lot setup going through the 30-foot way.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Slavin, second by Mr. Titlebaum. Anything else on the question?
No.
I'm seeing nothing. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3-2-0. Anything else, Mr. Campina?
No, the only thing I have is next agenda, could I be put on for the EDU rate discussion and acceptance of the EDU rate, setting the new rate for this year so we can bill? I think I'd emailed, I think I'd emailed to do it in July, but I don't think it's critical. But we can't bill without setting the rate.
Say it again.
we can't bill without setting the EDU rate. I think I had sent you an email that I recommend no change in the EDU rate, just keep it as it is, but it has to be on the agenda so we can officially vote on it.
Next agenda?
Please, and then we can bill.
You got it.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anybody from the, any board members have anything for Mr. King?
Quick question, Guy. Are we all set as far as all our costs, even though I can't discuss it?
We're
Shouldn't be asking.
yeah, we.
Sorry.
I'll ask. We all set cost-wise for
Shouldn't be
project
We're,
2?
we're pretty close. There's one thing we are doing that's going to affect the cost. We found a piece of property that needs to be bought into the betterment on Hollow Tree Avenue. It was kind of a weird setup. We assumed when we did the original engineering that 8 and 10 were one lot. Turns out it's not one lot. The owner of lot 10, which is vacant, wants to tie in because she's marketing the property. 8, that's the house that has a lateral, is not on the betterment. So we're going to add that. So that's going to affect the cost. We've done the improvements. Narrows is completed. We've done Cremisa Pump Station. That's completed. We're working now on Mattapoisett Pump Station. It has a leak. We're going to do something to take the water out and bring it to the side. So we're working on that. So, I mean, we're close. There's no more costs. We're not going to have any added costs. We're hoping to bring it down by adding more properties, but we're close to complete it. We're hoping to be done by the first week of September, and we can bring it all to the board and we can wrap this up.
To get to a revenue stream, which we're going to talk about probably, hopefully our next hour will be dedicated to revenue finally. Where are we at on the, I think the RFPs went out for the solar?
No, you have a copy of it. We're done. It's been vetted by town council. It's been vetted by the state. And now I just did the final draft, sent it over. You can share it with the rest of the board. You guys should have a final look at it. And
What is the total megawatt for that project? Was it like
I believe it's 1.4 or 1.2. I don't have it in front of me, sir, so I can't really give you. But I'll get to you exactly. I'll email you exactly what it is.
So this is about 1.4?
Yes,
it's
between
important.
1.2 and 1.4. That's what we're doing for
This is Guy's Solar is 1.4, and this is through an outside.
Yes, we're going to put.
We're not going to own it.
We're not going to own it. We're going to.
You sure?
Well,
it's not on the agenda. I don't want to discuss it. I'm just asking.
It's an
you
option.
You and I have different.
Well, the bottom line is it's going off for qualifications. When they all come back in, if somebody, we can make that decision. We're not locked into anything. Or we can throw everything out and start all over again. It's within our purview. I mean, the law is pretty clear. We have a lot of discretion in this whole thing, and
but
nobody
it's
can shove nothing
1.4.
down our throat. Yes, 1.4.
All right, because that'll tick down our limit on what we can get.
Right, and so we're in the middle now of writing an article for town meeting because of the lease part of it, which is immediate revenue. So we'll do that and get an article
Remember, those
presented
have to be in by the 7th.
7th. I have it on my list for the 7th, so I'll talk to Mr. Bowen and do what I got to do. I'm on vacation this week, so I really haven't. I apologize. I haven't been working on it, thinking about it. So
thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Next up,
I have a question.
Yes.
So you're talking about the solar fields going out for bid,
Yes, ma'am.
and then we're going to have a warrant article?
Well, we're going to, because of the timing of it, it's a process. We're in August. We wouldn't make a decision without town meeting deciding on, I'm under the understanding by our attorney that for the land to be leased, it needs to be done at town meeting, voted on by the voters. So that's what we're doing. We're doing that to make sure. Because the lease is only out, we don't have to do a lease, but it's a revenue stream, so town meeting has to vote on that. So we're going to write an article to prepare. If that's where we're going to go, we want something in place for it, so there'll be an article.
I don't recall. Do we have any bylaws about solar?
About what?
I don't even
Solar?
know. I didn't.
No.
So we don't have any bylaws.
I have nothing. I don't see
Okay.
anything there. I don't know.
Concerning contract 2, could you please kind of send each member of this board the summary of where we stand?
Sure.
Including any of the pump stations that you still have issues with, things that are ongoing, things that you're waiting to resolve, things that were an issue that are now resolved in the last couple of months, and kind of summarize the whole thing for us? Great,
Absolutely, I can
thanks.
do that. Also, one more thing I should tell you, non-cost to us, CDM is doing our SRF funding application for contract 3, whether we should do, but it's no cost. I think we should put that in place, because if we don't apply, we want to be on that list for funding, so we're doing that.
Okay.
And the deadline's the end of this month, so we'll have it completed the end of this week. I'm talking to Mike now. He goes on vacation in the week, and so we've been playing, and when he goes, we'll have this all finalized. We'll submit it, and it gives us an option. Whether we use it or not, that's up to us, but we'll at least have that option.
Thank you very much.
Could we also have on the next agenda. I don't want to get into, I know.
Next agenda.
All right, then we'll
On a
talk about it
future-
now.
a future
Then we'll talk
agenda
about it
is
now,
what-
because it's any sewer business. Do you
Well-
have
well,
all of the
what-
monies
what
in?
is it,
I
Mrs.
just
Figel?
want to know if all the bills are in.
two?
Every single bill is in for contract 2.
For 2, yes.
They're in, we're done.
Yes, let me clarify that. You'll get another bill that authorized for payment, but that's included in the money that's part of the betterment money. In other words, we've already, I'm confusing myself.
Has the money that was spent on the Wareham Water District water main been taken out of those costs?
It's not part of the cost, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to be sure
It
so
is.
that people know
Absolutely.
that, because I still, that's still an issue between the town of Wareham and the Wareham Water District.
Absolutely,
but
it's
it
an
shouldn't be
issue.
an issue for contract 2.
It's not an issue for contract 2. It was not included in contract 2 betterment. It has nothing to do with contract 2.
Okay.
They can be assured that that's not part of their costs. That's between the town, sewer department, and the water department. That's where it lies right now. Contract 2 has nothing to do with it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Quickly, please. We need to move along.
Well, I still have a question to ask.
Well, it should have been on the agenda.
I'm sorry to bring
This
it up.
conversation wasn't on the agenda, but he brought it
I'm
up,
trying
so
to put a stop to this off
Yeah,
the
I
agenda
apologize.
stuff because we need to move along.
if we're applying for the SRF grant for contract 3, is Mr. Judici doing this for free, or are we
Yes.
going to pay a bill?
Doing it for free. I made that clarification before we even started.
Okay.
It's for free.
Okay,
Yes.
we're not going to get a bill from CDM for his time and efforts?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. I was very clear about that. Very
Well-
clear about that.
When we see the bill, Mr. Campina, this is on tape.
And when I see the bill, I'll put it on tape also, that I'll file it, because he promised we're not going to pay for it, so we're not going to pay for it, and
Okay.
that's on tape.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
answered the question. Okay, next up.
Next up, we have Habitat for Humanity with a local initiative program application.
Good evening, sir. If you could state your name. For
I'm
the
George
record, please.
McTurk, president of the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity affiliate.
Okay, if you could explain what you're here for the board.
Well, basically, we have the local initiative program application, which we supplied for you to review. This is something that has to go to the Department of Housing and Community Development in order to have a restricted deed in place in perpetuity for the property at 39 Minot Avenue. The property is completed. The person that's been selected, the family that's been selected by the Habitat Family Selection Committee and approved by our board, occupies the home. However, they are tenants. They rent it from Habitat. We cannot issue a deed or have a deed drawn up without this being approved by DHCD in order to have that deed, a restricted deed in perpetuity, and have that property as part of the Wareham Town 40B inventory. And that's why I'm here tonight, to get your approval.
Mr. Chair, the process for these lips have been a problem. I'm going to be honest with you. In the community, we haven't followed the proper procedures, and we find out years later that they're not valid or not being counted. I do believe that this comes before the Board of Selectmen and then goes to town meeting for approval and comes back to the chairman of the board for signature. I believe that that is the correct process. Which means that you're going to need to submit a warrant article prior to September 7th.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was our understanding that we had met all the conditions, and we're talking about a particular property that there has been no deed. The person rents the property because we realize that in the past, there was a deed issued before the proper application was submitted and approved, and therefore it was done illegally or incorrectly. We're a board of volunteers, and we
So are
try
we.
we try very hard to comply with the merit of regulation, and we respect your concern. However, I do think that we have in this document covered all of our bases.
I'm not questioning your document, sir. What I'm saying is that if memory serves me, the house on Minot Ave was used money from the CPC to essentially purchase, if you will, the affordable housing restriction. It was used for an affordable housing unit, correct?
Well, it was used to buy lumber, windows, doors. It was used for shingle. It was used for construction.
The town, I understand. The town of Wareham has an interest in an affordable housing restriction, does it not? If you do not, if the house needs to be sold on the open market, that needs to, if you can't sell it under the provisions of the affordable housing.
Well, this particular
if you
process
believe
here that we're going through would enable the deed to be written restrictively so that it could never be sold on the open market. It'd be restrictive in perpetuity, and we're learning.
But we had a case come before us with an affordable restriction a few months ago, and somebody couldn't sell their house under the affordable price because of the drop in the market. It's my belief, and we can check with town council, that this has to go before town meeting for approval, because we use CPC monies, which were part of the affordable piece of it. Maybe Mr. Slavin knows. I just don't want to see you end up with an invalid deed like we've had happen in the past, because we've learned the hard way that if you don't do it right the first time, you can't go back.
This document was prepared by our attorney.
So was the last one.
All right, sir.
I'm not here to argue.
You know,
I would like if this has to be referred to your council, that maybe that would be the proper way to go before we arbitrarily decide that this has to be a town warrant. We'll do whatever it takes. We're not trying to fight you. We're trying to add to your inventory of affordable housing.
I understand that.
We do not want this property to be put on the open market and sold at a profit, and this restricted deed would prevent that from happening in perpetuity.
I understand that, but my frustration is that twice now we've gone through this process with the same organization, and twice now we found out that something was missed along the way. And I want the property to be affordable. I want it to be affordable in perpetuity, and I don't want to find out 5, 10, 15 years from now that it's not. That's all I'm asking. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just letting you know.
That's why we have the Department of Housing and Community Development in place up in Boston. They would receive this and they issue the permit. I mean, this isn't something that we're trying to avoid or run through or run around. We'll do whatever you say.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin?
I think the issue is that it had a restriction on the deed of the previous property, but the problem was it was not did not get into the count of our affordable housing units.
Yeah, I think I know what happened.
And that was
I think that deed was issued before.
Correct.
And it should never have been issued. And we are a board of volunteers that is evolving.
Let's just stick to this one.
I mean, that was the issue. There was stuff done out of sequence.
I'm not here to address that issue. I'm here to try to, get it straight the first time.
Let's just stay on track. Peter?
Well, I think one solution would be to vote on this conditionally, contingent upon town council's sign off on it. That way we can assure that he has an opportunity to take a look at it and approve it as to forum and as to process, and that way, if there is something awry with it, it could possibly be fixed before we manage to mess it up again. So that would be my suggestion, is that we have a motion for a conditional approval of the deed restriction, contingent upon town council's review and approval.
Mr. Bowen was given a copy of this already, wasn't he?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Bowen was given a copy of this already, wasn't he? Was he not?
I
think you left some of those
yeah,
in
I left
the
them
office.
at the office. Yes, sir.
Well, he's been on vacation this week, so I doubt that he would have gotten it from yesterday. So that's part of the issue. He might have, in the normal course of business, been here tonight, and perhaps we could have resolved it right here, but he's not around. So that's why I'm suggesting that we vote on this conditionally.
I think that's a perfect solution or suggestion.
And that would allow sufficient time to draft a warrant article and get it done in time for September 7th, without us having to meet again to take care of it.
If there is required one that...
Well, I do believe that Mr. Bowen had explained to us, as far as the lips went, these restrictions on the deed, that they go through town meeting because they're funded out of that the CPC fund. So, and because the only way to remove them is to go backwards through the process, and that would be going back even when they're invalid. You still have to go back through the process, back to town meeting. So I don't have a problem with a conditional approval. I just, you know, but I'd be prepared to write a warrant article, because we need to make sure it's done correctly, especially where, you know, monies out of the CPC fund are used, and people at town meeting are told that they're being used to create affordable housing. We want to make sure that that's exactly what it turns out to be.
We concur. We concur 100%.
All right, if you want to do that, I'll make sure that he's probably watching. I won't look at my emails, but there's probably one on there now. So I'll make sure that we get with him in the morning, get his legal opinion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. When you lean back, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Getting a little crouched in the front position. We'll make sure that we get with him first thing in the morning. And then if you need an article written, you know, that needs to be submitted by the 7th. So we're getting down to a skinny window.
We can do that with
Sure.
our council. We just need to know maybe the opinion from your attorney prior to whether we have to do that or not.
Yeah, we can get a pretty quick answer on that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Is there a motion?
I move that the board conditionally approve the request from the Buzzards Bay Area Habitat for Humanity to grant, convey, or otherwise accept a deed restriction for the LIP application for the property situated at 39 Minot Avenue, contingent upon advice and clearance from town council.
Second.
Have a motion made and seconded. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Thank you.
very much.
And just to reiterate, the date for submission of the warrant article, and this needs to be something that your attorney works with our town council to make sure that our town council has an opportunity to vet it and see that it meets the notice requirements and the statutory requirements for such a restriction by the 7th. So it's got to be in final approved form by the 7th in order to make it onto this fall town meeting warrant.
And when is that meeting?
Mr. McTurk, is this
The meeting is in October, I think.
Is this your current
22nd?
information that was at the bottom of this? Could you just verify that for me? I don't want to read your numbers.
Yeah, that's my name. I had this to submit too. It's a little easier to read.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but your email and stuff is on this document, is this correct? Don't say it out loud. That's your phone number? Okay. That way Rich can contact you directly.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your suggestions. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Up next, we have the Wareham Community and Economic Development Authority Certificate of Vote. Did Rich go through this and give us a new version, or?
Yeah, hang on one second. If you don't mind, I'm going to look this up because it did not. There was something this afternoon that he was kind of sending a bunch of stuff here this afternoon. Seated director. Okay. I see this on. This is from Rich Bowen. I see this on tomorrow's agenda. My conclusion is there may be times when the delegation from the Board of Selectmen to the director would be perfectly appropriate. And I'm sure that while Sal in the post would act carefully, but it is impossible for me to speculate about every contingency or even future directors. There will be occasions when this grant of authority would be too broad, especially as regards to disposition of town property. It is for this reason I am unable to give a town council endorsement to it. Signed, Rich Bowen. I will make sure I just got this on the way out the door. I'll make sure that I think this was sent to me and Mr. Foster. I'll forward this out to the board so you all have a copy. And I think that in discussion with Rich, that based on actions that we've taken at town meeting over the last year, that the approval of these types of things, if there is, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen signs off on things that are the state, between the state and our Cedar Authority. This is more in terms of day-to-day operations, and I think the feeling is if the board is going to do anything, and I know that Sal agrees with this as well, that we give that authority to a town administrator on a day-to-day basis. That would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I need to excuse myself for the evening. I move for Mrs. Begley to be the clerk pro tem for the remainder of the meeting.
So, what do you want to do?
I'd ask that we put this aside and come back to it. I believe the Cedar Board is going to probably come back with something with some modifications as well, but as from the Act of 2004, we only can delegate to the town administrator, and that's what we were waiting for Mr. Bowen to come back with an answer. So at this point here, I'd say let's put this on hold and see what the Cedar Board comes back with.
Okay. Works for me.
Could, I know, this is going to be in October now. I know it's going to be October. We're going to start meeting weekly, starting the beginning of September, thank goodness. But can we get Mr. Pena in here
They are
in
on the
October?
list. They are on the list. Prior to October.
Way prior.
Promise me.
Promise.
Yes.
Okay.
But prior to October.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm sorry I didn't see you approach the bench.
It's okay.
I think that's it.
Is that, I didn't misspeak when I said that. I remember you said that night you didn't have an issue with town administrator.
Not at all. Not at all.
As long as we had somebody that was in administration that was, or management anyway, that was signing off on
Absolutely.
these things. That was one of the issues. So
Well-
your recommendation is to put this on hold?
I'd say we put it on hold for a week and dial it in because we actually have to vote if we're going to delegate some of our responsibilities.
That's
Per
correct.
the Act of
And
2004.
I actually have the Special Acts of 2004 copy here.
The last two paragraphs.
And, right, well, this was Section 8, and I was concerned because it said the Board of Selectmen of the town shall exercise full control over their respective functions and approve all actions of said authority. There is, as you go on, a provision about the town administrator. So I think if all the members of the board got a copy of this, they'd have a fuller understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
I can,
And
I'll
say
go to
what-
the office tomorrow
even though
afternoon.
it says that you can do it, you still want to put it off. That's fine.
I think the only reason to put it off is I think we have to designate what we're actually going to
Cor-
sign off on.
I understand.
I agree with
Okay,
Selectman
okay.
Slavin.
So you want to detail the details of the...
Be specific.
I'd like to eliminate
I
any
got
gray
you.
areas so we don't
Right.
all get in
I
trouble
agree.
later.
Okay. I got that part.
Thanks.
Right?
Yep.
Works?
Thank you.
Okay.
This is good. Okay, next up. Let's skip over the task force, the election warrant for now.
I made a motion for clerk pro tem. Mr. Chairman, I need to leave.
That's me.
Second, all in favor? All opposed? So
I abstain. Just read this, the whole thing? Oh, no, me.
You're asking.
Me.
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking her a question. She's going to stay and read it for me, but that's okay. I think I can read it. The election warrant. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. Plymouth, to either of the constables of the town of Wareham. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town of Wareham who are qualified to vote in primaries, to vote at Precinct 1, Wareham Town Hall, 54 Marion Road, Precinct 2, Ethel Hammond School, 13 Highland Ave, Precinct 3, Minot Forest School, 63 Minot Avenue, Precinct 4, Deacon School, 760 Main Street, Precinct 5, Deacon School, 760 Main Street, Precinct 6, Lodge of Elks, 2859 Cranberry Highway, on Thursday, the 6th day of September 2012, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the state primaries for the candidates of political parties for the following office: Senator in Congress for this Commonwealth, Representative in Congress, 9th District, Councilor, 1st District, Senator in General Court, 1st Plymouth and Bristol District, Representative in General Court, 2nd Plymouth District, Clerk of Courts, Plymouth County, Register of Deeds, Plymouth County, County Commissioner, Plymouth County. Hereof fail not and make return of this warrant with your doings thereon at the time and place of said voting. Given under our hands this 21st day of August, 2012. Stephen M. Holmes, Chairman, Ellen M. Begley, Carrie Ann Winslow, Peter Teitelbaum, Alan Slavin. Warrant must be posted by August 30th, 2012, or at least 7 days prior to the September 6, 2012 state primary.
So moved. Second. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 400. Mr. Sullivan, one note on this.
On what?
On the list of voting places.
Oh, Hammond School belongs to the town of Wareham, so we could still have the elections
Yeah,
there?
It's, yeah, that's what I was just going to get to. We take, the town side takes possession of that school back August 31st at midnight. At some point between now and then, we need to have a meeting. You need to have a meeting with Mr. Gifford and make sure that there's coordination with the town clerk so that she has access to that. What's the date? September 6th?
Yes.
So that she has access and that the area they use for voting is acceptable and maintained. And, all right? And then at some point between now and the end of September, we'll put it on the agenda so we can discuss the November issues. All right?
Mr. Holmes, just to clarify for the people that are in the audience that may not know, that is it okay if I read this letter into the record about Hammond School? No?
I mean, you can read it if you'd like.
This letter was dated...
That has nothing to do with the election, though.
Well, Hammond School, this is why we're having a discussion about the election. It will be in the town's possession. There was some confusion. I had people ask me where they would vote if the school was closed.
Yeah.
So this letter was from Dr. Rabinovich, and he expressed to the board that due to lack of funding, that the Hammond Elementary School, as of August 31st, will be vacated and the building will be turned back over to the town.
Right.
So people will still be voting in Hammond School.
Yeah. So for September, they'll still be voting in it.
So September 6th at Hammond School for Precinct 2.
Okay.
Do you want to go back to the task force? We're going to come back later for
Now,
that.
we'll go back there after. If we can try to get some of these folks, the community events would be next.
Okay, item F, Community Events Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a member of the committee, but I'm a voting member, so I think I have to abstain on this.
You are a voting member?
Sorry?
I'm a voting member in this particular committee, so I have to abstain or sit at the other table and look at you
Why would you have to abstain?
because I vote on that.
On
I
this
vote on
committee.
that committee. It's one of the few that we
They're just
do.
giving us a report, correct? Or is
Is this asking us to make a motion,
know.
or is it a report?
It depends what we do because it talks about funds here. So
Oh. Well,
I'm Susan Rickey, I'm the chairman, and I was requested to come before the board to answer questions. They didn't give me any, specifics.
Oh.
I just got an email. Linda Gay has been the recording secretary, and we've been on this committee since its inception, when it was Visitor Services Committee, back in the late 90s. So it's just been a transitioning thing. But some questions came up at one of the meetings in July 10th. There was a discussion regarding the revenue that we receive. So what I had done is I presented a packet and gave it to all the selectmen. I don't know if you have that information, but
The warrant articles and... Yeah, we have this, Susan.
This is what's in our packets.
Yes, same thing. So the funding for the Community Events Committee, if I might, Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Mrs. Begley? Yeah, go ahead.
The funds are from parking receipts.
Right.
So
Right.
just from the pier then, right? Is that the only parking receipts we have?
wherever we collect,
That's the only
parking, that's
place.
the only place at this point in time.
And then the
hotel motel.
The hotel motel tax, 70% goes to community events.
Yeah, exactly.
And 40% of the parking receipts. And that's it for funding.
That's it for funding. Our concern was there's limited hotels and motels. A lot of the B&Bs have closed. and
So
we
how
have-
much
we have
is it
limited.
a year?
Well, this year they set aside $25,000. We did have some in the account, but during spring meeting, they voted for $25,000, and we set that aside. And I do have a copy of what was requested and what was dispersed for your records, because I do keep.
So I don't get that they set aside 25,000, Susan. I guess you get 70% and 40% as revenue.
Yeah.
Right, Linda? So
70% of the hotel motel.
right, hotel motel, not meals. You don't get any of the meals tax. So I know that there are very, very few hotel rooms available in town, so that must have really affected your revenue.
It did. The reason why I gave you a printout that I just gave you is because we figure usually each year we've been able to disperse to these nonprofit, groups that hold events anywhere in the vicinity of $35,000 to $55,000 a year. It all depends. Under community events and under this legislative act, the fortunate thing is we've been able to keep money aside if we didn't have a lot of...
A rainy day fund.
Right, and we couldn't do that under the original visitor services. It had to be all spent or gone into the general fund. So when it went through the legislature in 2007, that's when they said we could hold money aside. This year, we had a discussion with our group, and one of the items that was requested, we have to get a request by March 15th for any of the nonprofit organizations to give us an estimate of what they need for promoting in advertising their events. I went before the Finance Committee with a request from the Police Department for the parking kiosks, and we set $35,000 from our fund aside for that, because that would be revenue generating. And we figured the town has no money, no hotels, motels, B&Bs, and limited parking. So after we did some research to the different communities, we found out they were generating a lot of revenue for a lot of their programs with the parking kiosk. And so we want to go down that route. We presented the paperwork to Town Council Rich Bowen because we wanted to make sure. But if you notice on the bylaws, one of the things that's very important is because it can be used for public improvements, which means if we get a lot more money, even though we get a percentage, the public improvement part can come into play. We haven't had any money for public improvements, i.e. whether it is signage or street lamps, you know, because tourism is very important. People like to come to our area if it's got good lighting, you know. I mean, we even have probably lifeguards would be something that we could be very creatively use if we could do that.
All right. Derek. So I think I'm getting the picture. This request from the events committee is for the board. It looks like for us to approve the use of this money to buy parking kiosk, and the revenue would go where?
It would be the same split. So if the split is what, 60-40, 60 to the town on the parking, 40 to community events, that's the usual. But we'd have to talk about adjusting it, whether it's, I don't know what that part of the plan is, whether it's to pay back or if there's more income, whether to adjust whatever the split would be, make it. Because if we get an extra $100,000 in revenue, I don't know if you need an extra $40,000 a year or not. Maybe that's a great thing. I don't know.
You know, are we talking about just the pier?
That would be, I think one of the things we did when I was speaking to John Foster about this was the plan was to put these parking meters in, but it turned out it takes about 8 weeks just to fabricate them and get them set up. So we stopped it for this year. We should really put together an overall plan on this to see what areas they're going to go in, work with, maybe even create a committee on this, because we'd like to put a plan together rather than just sort of shoving this through. Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, that was one of my comments, but I'll let Mr. Titlebaum go first.
Yeah, I think if we're going to be looking at improving our parking revenues, and that's a great idea. It's been mentioned by several people. Even tonight, we've heard from somebody in the context of the trash committee that we need to look at parking revenues. I do think it would be good to step back and look at not just a kiosk or two, which I understand would help your situation right now immediately, but to look at possibly something more comprehensive. We have some time, certainly before the next tourist season, to get something up and running that can, you know, get a dedicated revenue stream to you folks that you need, but at the same time possibly could get even more revenue back into the town coffers for general use. So I would support that, but I would say thank you for bringing this to our attention tonight. I think it's merit-worthy, and certainly personally I'd like to discuss this more with you, and also more generally speaking as part of a comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you. So to clarify, you want to use some of the community events monies to kind of make this parking kiosk happen?
Yes. It's a revenue stream, really, more than
right.
anything.
So this means 40% return for the community events, but 60% into general funds. which I know capital planning has been eyeing for some time. So the $25,000 that you set aside was for this project? Or you
Right.
just set it aside because you saw that your revenues were decreasing and you just kind of set it aside?
For both those reasons. Both because we knew we didn't have the revenue stream, and then when this came up, Lieutenant Walczak was the one that did some research on what other communities were doing, and he did quite extensive research and had, discussed it with me. And at that point in time, I discussed it with the Finance Committee because it was on the parking kiosk. It was on the warrant.
Yeah, it was on
And
the
they
warrant.
took it off, and that's when I discussed with my committee, and I said, if we have money that we can put aside and we can help the town generate money, we might be in a stall this year, but we won't be next year or the year after, and it'll be a great revenue stream for us, not only for events, but for improvements. And there's a way to do it because even though we have guidelines here, the public improvement part of it, and that's what I went over with Town Council Bowen, will have to go by the letter of the law. We can't do it. We have to come before, the town fathers and say, this is what we want to do. But we don't give money away without having a paper trail.
I understand. And all of this, we have a list here of expenditures. So in 2011, you expended almost $44,479. But the request that you received for 2012 amounted to almost $79,000.
Right. We did.
But
when we have requests, we review them, and unless it falls within the guidelines, I mean, there's certain things we will not pay for because it doesn't follow in the guidelines. I mean, and some people don't realize it, and we try to explain it to them. Advertising, promoting, banners.
There's hidden costs to events.
Hidden costs. The biggest expense that we have, and that we have to put aside since day one, the town used to do the fireworks. They could no longer afford it. And then when it was Visitors Services Committee, and we had a different liaison at that time, and we were told that as long as the volunteer groups could get money for the fireworks, Visitor Services would pay for the town's expenses. This year, it was somewhere in the vicinity of $16,000 that we paid for that. The Wareham Fireworks Committee raised funds and did a fantastic job with their volunteers, so we were able to have the fireworks this year. We don't know if that's always going to be the case. In previous years, those towns' expenses were much, much higher, much higher. So a lot of the town, whether it's the police, municipal maintenance, EMS, harbor master, they've been very careful about how they've used, the workers that they have to keep our expenses down. So we put that aside just to make sure, because that's always a guaranteed event with what we get.
So your sole source of income are those two areas? So all we have is, we don't have any revenue on here. We just have expenditures. Derek, you don't have that in there, do you? That's okay. It was a trick question.
Right. Judy, who usually gives me a printout, has been on vacation. So she couldn't, we have very little left in that account right now. What I do have is in the past 3 years, it's kind of a paper trail, so you'll know what the different events, occurred and what was paid. And I did it in the way of a town report, but I made copies of this. Do you want to hand these out?
So when you do your annual report, you'll have the revenue as well as the expenditures?
Not necessarily. We just, because what they request, and there's 3 years there, 2009, 10, and 11. What they request
Who's
And
they?
Meaning the nonprofit organizations. What they request and what we approve could
no,
be two different things.
No, I understand that, and I saw that. I saw that you had requested amount, and I saw that you had expended amount. My question is not your disbursements. My question is the revenue.
Right. And it's whatever we get. I believe it's twice a year that the money does come in from the state. I think it's twice a year. We opted, it used to be that they'd vote for an amount in the spring meeting and then in the fall meeting, but then last year it was getting too complicated, so we just decided they would just accumulate it in an account and then, decide what, it would be one vote.
Yeah, I think that basically some of this troubles me that we have a community events committee. And what did you say that on this it says $35,000
For what?
that you have set aside?
Right.
For a parking kiosk?
Right. I believe they thought that they could do by two.
I believe the approximate cost per kiosk was the $13,000, $13,000 per.
Well, in this document it says 2012 request, 35,000 police parking system. I'm assuming that's kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says final award, 35. You didn't actually give somebody $35,000
No,
for a parking.
it's still in the.
It hasn't been dispersed. It's just earmarked.
It's earmarked.
Good.
It
Well,
can't be dispersed until the town agrees to it. It is purchased, and we get documentation of what it cost.
Were you anticipating additional parking areas for the
down the road?
That's why the 35,000. So you weren't just anticipating the pier. You were thinking like other, up by Hammond School, up by the
Hammond
tennis
School,
courts,
and then Pines Field.
I don't want to start a
Lopes.
riot, so let's not get too specific because we know how people are about parking in Onset.
Yeah, community events.
There was
I'm
an
just-
investment. That's how it all started.
But nothing's been expended.
No.
Nothing has happened about this. Has anything been ordered yet?
No.
To your knowledge?
No.
So right now, it's still on the drawing board. It's just that money's been set aside so that it can begin when it begins.
Well, I mean, in the end, who approves this expenditure? Is it the Board of Selectmen?
Community Events Committee.
We do.
Well, no.
Yeah,
That's
No,
the
no,
confusion.
No. You may be able to approve the purchase of the equipment, but you cannot approve the use of town land.
No.
In putting your equipment
Right.
on town land
Right.
and taking revenue from those town pieces of property
the
by the
yeah.
Community Events Committee.
The purpose of this was just to make sure the town would have some money that they needed as a,
But again,
our hands are off it once the money is
Until
set
you're
aside.
notified that it's a go
It's a
by the higher-ups. She said that earlier in the conversation.
again, the Community Events Committee doesn't make those decisions. That either goes through the board or town meeting or somewhere, not the Community Events Committee.
I don't know how they're going to handle
Who's
the
that?
purchase. Well, the town is going to handle the purchase of the parking kiosks. I believe it probably would be through town administration.
Well, we have our procurement officer who's the town administrator.
Right. And then also, I believe the police department will play a major role in this also. That's how it is in most communities. That's how it is.
But again, what I'm trying to get to here is the bottom line. And the bottom line is the Community Events Committee has no authority to put up parking meters or parking kiosks anywhere in town.
Right.
Without the approval of
Right.
the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Or if we transfer a property, it has to go through town meeting.
Right.
So
Just like
I
we don't
wouldn't
have
write
a
any
yeah.
checks or give anybody any checks until
We don't pay. We'll pay anything. It'll be transferred into the town account.
They're just
just like we
You
don't have
pay
any
anybody.
authority
Listen,
to hang
if you
banners.
if you have $35,000 in your account, and tomorrow it's $35,000 less, you did pay $35,000
they
to
have the
something
purse
out of your
strings.
account.
They have. This is the way this is what I'm understanding from Susan is that they have the purse strings. They are not making purchases of any kind. They're not making decisions of any kind. They are waiting for direction from those that can make those decisions.
Understood.
And that's right. But the chief wants to kind of pipe
I
into.
understand that, and all I want to be clear on is that next week, I don't want
They
to
still
find
have
out.
$35,000.
I don't want to find out that there's a bunch of parking kiosks putting in Lopes Field.
Putting one in front of your house.
Because parking has been a big issue, and we need to look at parking as more of a strategic plan across Wareham in general. I think, and I think that
so,
those
too.
people will be sitting
Yeah,
down
go ahead.
soon.
If I may for 1 second.
1 second, Chief. 30 seconds. Because you have the same kind of tie on.
On a quick note here, when Mr. Andrews did leave, this was on the drawing board to bring before the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
And what was going to happen.
And it hasn't been brought before the
No.
Board of Selectmen? Okay.
The decision made was when he was leaving, we were going to hold off until there was a new boss. Once we get the new boss, we're going to have a comprehensive plan with the input of the Board of Selectmen, with the input of the community, through a committee. Our suggestion would be if the board goes along with that. And the Community Events Committee simply saw the benefit long-term in knowing the town's budget. We're good enough to say we will hold some money for the future.
Thank you. That's
Thank
the
you.
explanation I was looking for. Thank you very much.
You're
That's
welcome.
good. Anything else?
No, thank you for coming before us and
And we look
introducing
forward to
this
having you
concept
as
to the
part
board.
of those strategic workshops that I anticipate will be starting pretty soon on parking issues across the town of Wareham. It would be great to have you as members of that group.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right.
Okay, next item on the agenda, are we going down to jet ski? Are we going to first, where would you
Jet
like to go?
skis would be nice.
Let's get us some jet skis.
Nice windy afternoon. The air conditioning is leaving the room.
Good evening.
Chief?
First of all, you saw the memo I sent regarding public-private partnership. I couldn't help but some of the discussions earlier, and you yourself, Mr. Chairman, had talked about some of the issues about working with people, working with organizations, and about grants drying up. And that surely is, in fact, the case. Difficult to find them. We found some. We're working on them all the time. But we also found some good people in town with the passion for law enforcement and wanting to move the community forward. And this is what this is all about. First of all, on the jet ski acceptance, my apologies. It should have come here. That's strike two on that.
Don't let that happen again, you know.
No, I know. The strike two. I already got it for the onset substation.
All right.
So
Before you deploy something, you're supposed to come before the Board of Selectmen and have them accept these gifts.
Absolutely.
And you're not the only one, but this is the second time for you.
That's right. Strike two. I hear it. The Kawasaki Jet Ski Watercraft Loan Program, 11-month program. And again, the ability to renew each year. Community-oriented policing efforts, you saw in the memo. We've been trained by the Mass State Police Marine Unit. There are 7 officers trained. Through the general manager of the Greater Boston Motorsports of Arlington, Barry Eisenberg, we're able to acquire these 2 units. And again, they're an 11-month program, and it continues every year if we want to continue it. We are currently, at the end of this year, going to have a meeting to evaluate the program with the officers assigned, and I will get back to you if we go for a repeat for the following year.
And these are grants?
Excuse me?
These are grants, right?
Yes,
So
that
you're
is.
not paying this money back?
That is a grant, and again, it's on a 11-month cycle.
Questions, Mr. Titlebaum? Anything quickly?
Just a couple of questions. Now that we have another town department out policing our waterways, I'm just wondering, and this is obviously the first year that the police department has gotten involved out there, I'm just wondering if there's been any discussion with the Harbor Master Department about coordination of resources, where you're using things, where they're patrolling, and so on and so forth. I'm just curious to know that, because I think it would be beneficial for the town at large, and the boating community and the swimmers and everybody else who uses our beaches if there was a level of coordination between the two departments on the waterways, so that we could achieve rescues faster. If they know where you are, you know where they are, that kind of thing.
Yes, from a communication aspect, the harbor master has given us a couple of marine unit radios to use.
Oh.
So we coordinate with him. Again, it's a work in progress this
Right.
year. We didn't really anticipate it till we were kind of surprised when we were able to pull it off. But it is a work in progress. We worked them. In fact, Sergeant Flannery is an ex-assistant harbor master, so he's got some experience. He's working with Gary, and Gary's been cooperative, and we're going back and forth. I'm not saying there haven't been any bumps along the way. There have been, but we're getting over those things, and and it has made a difference in how we police and work the waterways.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Slavin.
Good evening. As you know, I'm a little bit picky about process and procedures. Just as a quick point of view on the Kawasaki jet ski loan form agreement, unfortunately, the dealer, I know them very well. I used to work for them years and years ago. The jet skis that they actually loan us for 3 months, as I already mentioned to you, the contract says 6/15/2012 to 5/1/2012.
Right, I
which
saw
we
that
would've-
when we pulled them out, and I've called Mr. Eisenberg, and he's replacing that with the new one. I should have it any day. I appreciate it.
We would have had to give them back before we got them.
Yep.
The other thing, which I think is really a problem under Chapter 44, though, is that the town administrator, as a procurement officer, has to sign these contracts. We run into problems if we don't go through proper, basic procedures, et cetera, for 30B as well. So but under 44, the town administrator does have to take care of that. And Chapter 94, as mentioned before also, on these issues has to do with the appropriateness of any expenditures using those special grant accounts. So you already know what it is, so just have to be very careful there as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Begley. All right, can we get a motion to accept number 1?
Are we going to go through each one of these?
Yeah?
Okay. I move that we accept is it 11-month lease, Chief? On the jet skis?
Yes.
The 11-month lease with the Kawasaki jet ski watercraft loan with the ability to renew each year, and this is a result funded by a grant.
Have a motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. Next, Chief, number 2.
Okay, the second unit is, the second item is a donation acceptance request. I had several businessmen from town approach me regarding wanting to assist us in some of our goals and aspirations in the police department. They thought that they would, in fact, be able to assist with the onset substation, but due to volunteerism, due to the onset water district, and so many other people's support, we didn't need that. So I was approached by 2 people who live on Burgess Point who stated that they would love to assist in another area, and we stated we'd like to bring back the Harley-Davidson motorcycle program this town had at one point in time. Nothing can be better for a community as far as working with the public, community-oriented policing, especially in an area such as this where we're trying to attract tourism and work with community-oriented policing. The amount of festivals we have, the events we have, the tremendous amount of traffic we have where cruisers can't even get around at times, this makes a big difference. We've got several officers who are already trained. We have others who are interested to go through the proper training put on by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of State Police. In fact, it's a big project and a big help for us when it comes to other issues. For instance, we just won the Massachusetts and National Law Enforcement Challenge, came in at the gold level and were being awarded a certificate. Only 24 departments in Massachusetts were awarded this, and we were awarded gold, which is right up at the top level, obviously. These kind of things are what's important when it comes to national traffic safety. The 2 people involved are Carl Clemmy, who lives on Burgess Point. He runs an automotive company as well as the CEO of Clemmy LLC, a real estate development company. I met Carl when I moved down here to work in Wareham, He's been a member of the 100 Club for 42 years, and his family is very much involved in assisting law enforcement. He's a real solid guy who I've worked with since I got here. Kevin Meehan, also from Burgess Point, who owns Imperial Cars in Mendon. You might know the commercial, the little town of Mendon. That's him. He lives here on Burgess Point, and he offered to get the second unit. They're both friends, and they live out there. Great guys, and they're willing to work with us.
Great.
So
Mr. Titlebaum?
$3,900 a
Chief, we
year.
need to move. Yeah,
Yep.
Mr. Titlebaum?
How are the, I see there's a maintenance schedule here that's included in the contract as part of the lease.
Correct.
How is that being paid for?
We will pay any other needs on this particular program through our gift account and through our Law Enforcement Drug Trust Fund.
And the gift accounts are set up so that the donors are, in other words, they're flexible enough in the terms of the gift that there's no issue with using those funds towards maintaining these vehicles, et cetera?
Correct.
Mr. Slavin?
On the motorcycles, you'll be able to cover the seasonal uniforms because they'll be changing from spring, summer to fall, winter, the gloves, boots, all the good stuff.
Correct.
Helmets, all taken care of. Insurance is going to be in as part of the lease or be separate?
I think that's separate. That wasn't included, correct?
Okay. The maintenance contract, which can be in the lease, is going to be, or you don't know? It states here that it can be included in the lease.
Yes.
Okay.
Mrs. Bagley?
I just want, not so much a question, Chief, but just a clarification so people out there will hear it too. The lease package is $3,900 per year per unit. The police department does have some law enforcement certified riders available and others who have applied. Any cost associated with these units, such as uniforms and graphics, will be paid through seizure accounts or donation accounts. The police department has no need for a trailer, and the dealer who has the state contract will perform any repair work. And officers assigned will use issued portable radios, thus keeping the police department from having to purchase radios.
Correct.
So just so the listening public know that this is really not costing, this is not coming out of general funds or the police budget.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, and just make sure, Chief, that those contracts, any contracts are signed off by the TA's office.
Yep, absolutely,
He's
including the new one coming on the Kawasaki.
He's the chief, he or she is going to be the chief procurement officer, not the chief of police. Right?
Correct.
Got it?
Thank you.
Okay.
One more question.
Quickly.
Quickly as I can. On this particular process here, the gone brain dead. You're going to have two officers that are already trained and gone through the motorcycle safety program, et cetera, and you'll have more. Will this require us to increase the size of the staff?
No, that's just an additional responsibility they have.
You won't have issues with overtime, stuff like that?
Well, no overtime that wouldn't be normally incurred anyway.
That's
Correct.
all. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Have a motion, please, on number 2?
Yep, I move that the town of Wareham accepts the Harley-Davidson motor units lease of 2 Harley-Davidson FLHTP motorcycles.
Motion made by Mrs. Bagley,
Second.
second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained, 400. Number 3, Chief?
All right, the police department has been approved to participate in the National Defense Authorization Act of 1997. It's a standard program law enforcement is using. It's military surplus vehicles and so forth. During the hurricane meetings that we had back a month ago or so, we talked about some of the flooding conditions that could take place in town, large-scale weather-related incidents. We have looked into, I had a sergeant, ex-military, who looked into the program for me and did a lot of research. We have identified the needs for emergency management as well as for the police department use. For hurricanes-related storm, a couple of Humvees. I put a document in your books about it, as well as trailers. These particular vehicles are being picked up on a constant basis by municipal governments across the country. We haven't taken advantage of it. It's a great tool. It's a great opportunity for us. We've identified one of them that's close by, and we're going to keep searching for the second one. The one we've identified has about 22,000 miles on it. and it's in great shape. I think they're a tremendous asset to the community and give us the operations we need on a limited basis to assist us in getting to where we need to get to.
Mr. Titlebaum?
I recall actually you mentioning this during the disaster management meeting we had a couple of weeks ago. Your interest in procuring these vehicles, and given their ability to travel through deep water and to be able to access portions of town when we're inundated with a big storm, which is going to happen someday, whether we want it to or not, I think this would be something fairly prudent for us to get involved with.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
I saw the paperwork a few days ago, and I actually mentioned to the police department that they would look into 3 other vehicles as a possibility. One was in the second row top, the Troop Carrier M998A1. That would be something that the Board of Health, which has a vehicle about to die, could use. They don't go very far, so the cost of running it would be very marginal. We have an issue with ambulances right now.
Is this on the agenda?
It's part of what he's asking to buy.
Oh, I gotcha.
Ambulance ARMD. That would give Dave Evans a vehicle which could change what he drives around in, and it would be a full-fledged ambulance as well. And for the dog officer, which has an issue, the M1097 in the third row bottom series with the shelter and all could be used for the dog officer quite easily too. These would be, at no cost, these would be a very good thing for the town of Wareham.
Mrs. Begley?
It's going to look like a military base around here.
It's okay.
Chief, I'm looking at the letter from Sergeant Gerard, and I don't see anything in here about a trailer. And it says something about a trailer.
Right, I put in for, I put on my report a couple of trailers also. They're just regular flat.
Okay.
That's all they are.
Because I saw that you kind of had it all, like, together here. But that's
Yes.
okay. I'll put it in my motion.
Okay, thank you.
Have a motion?
I move that the Wareham Police, the Board of Selectmen accepts on behalf of the Wareham Police Department the Humvee at no cost to the town of Wareham and trailers from the National Defense Authorization Act of 1997.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Begley, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
In the last-
Abstained, 400.
The last one I have is, I've also been approached by Vaughn Wedge of Vaughn's Towing, 2747 Cranberry Highway. Totally disgusted with a couple of our old white cruisers that need paint and minor body work. He made an offer to come forward requesting nothing from the department. It's my opinion that shows great community spirit from a local business owner attempting to assist our department in furthering our professional appearance. And he's come forward to get a little work done on some of the cars, and I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Slavin?
I'm fine.
Mrs. Begley?
I just have a couple questions, Chief. Vaughn's Towing, they just tow. They don't do body work, because I asked him that specifically.
I asked Vaughn to stay just in case any questions.
I have the same
not?
question.
Okay.
Because I
Because
understood.
I was very specific about that, and there was a reason for that.
I
Reason why I stayed.
I understood that this was to be done over the bridge.
Correct. This, I don't know if you can hear me if this is working.
Yeah, is the
Yeah,
green light
just
on?
talk up close to it.
Hello?
Mr. Wedge.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, this is, I partnered up with a fellow from Diamond Collision, and again, that's why I said I wouldn't be doing any work on my vehicles that I bought and purchased and sold. I had a conversation with him. I happened to be at the 4th of July fireworks, and which is a very busy time in our town with a lot of folks from out of town, and noticed a cruiser with the paint peeling off the front of the hood, the door caved in, and I decided that I'd approach the chief and ask him if I could assist in putting this thing back together and making it respectable, and we ended up here. But I do have certified body shop who I've partnered up with that's more than willing to take the responsibility. The vehicle will be picked up at the police department on a tow truck, delivered, repaired, back on a tow truck, back to the police department, and I will personally deliver it both ways.
You might want to check the radiator on that vehicle too, because when we had police night out, isn't that the one that was smoking in the grass?
Yeah, it was.
there?
They almost had to
The
put
paint
it
was
out
peeling,
for real.
So you might have to tow it there and back, because I don't know if it'll make it
Not
that
a
far.
miracle worker here. I just figure we can fix the door.
They
in the
almost had to put it out for real. Now, this is my only other question, and please don't misunderstand me. And you know me. I would never disparage the Wareham Police Department or you, because you get called by the Wareham Police Department for tow because you're on the tow list. Does this gentleman have to submit any sort of disclosure or anything in anybody's opinion? I just want to be sure.
I don't think he does, because they go on a rotating list by name.
Right.
And it's pretty well locked in.
I just want to protect everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
when
not casting, dispersion on anyone. I just want to protect everyone.
The police department could, but if they wanted to, go to the clerk's office and do a disclosure, and that would take care of
Right,
it.
just to cover everybody, and so that no one. And I'm bringing this out now because if I don't, it's going to be written about elsewhere.
I have no problem with that.
No.
I simply, and again, until I came here before the board tonight, I had no idea that the chief was even going to be here, on this particular situation. I just stayed because it was brought to my attention.
Actually, I don't think the disclosure would need to come from you. It would be more from the chief. So,
Yeah.
I'll get something out.
Yeah, to the clerk.
Yes.
Town clerk.
I'll take care of it. Thank you.
All right. Can we get a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen accept on behalf of the Wareham Police Department cruiser and bodywork and paint donation from Von Wedge.
second.
Motion made and second. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
Mr.
we're coming
Wedge.
up on the 10 o'clock hour.
I move that we go beyond the hour of 10 by not more than 15 minutes. Because I'm leaving.
We need to,
Need more.
we have three things that we absolutely have to finish.
We can
There's
do it in 20
no-
minutes.
No exception. Well, we'll see.
I'm leaving at 10:15.
We'll keep the question short. Okay.
Is anybody going to
Rich here
second?
from Sage? I'll take these in order. Rich?
I'll
No,
s- I'll s-
okay.
I'll second the extension.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. We have the guy, first win. I can deal with these quickly myself. And then let's move on to the Marzetti expansion. Gentlemen, sorry. That's how these meetings go.
Do I have anything in our...
Oh, we never get the last name right. Cliff?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Is this the aroma that I always smell
Yes.
on Route 25 that makes me think of pizza?
Thank you very much.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. Pina, good evening. The purpose of tonight's meeting is T. Marzetti is that smell of croutons as you're going down one of Wareham's
On
landmarks.
25. Can't miss it.
It's one of Wareham's landmarks that some people don't realize is here, and we probably should do a better job at marketing. The Crouton Company is owned by a company, T. Marzetti, out of Ohio. The Mazzelli Group is looking to expand their operations in the crouton business. I'm paraphrasing. Don't kill me. And one of the key decisions they're about to make is whether or not to expand here in Wareham or move the operation to Ohio, where their company's headquarters are. So I'll ask the gentleman to give us we have a quick PowerPoint, I believe.
Do you need it?
And then we can have a discussion. So, gentlemen,
Yeah, sure.
it's a quick introduction, but
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think we will have some issues with the PowerPoint.
That's okay.
what seems to be the problem? Do we not have computer experts in the room? Try Shift F4. Oh, no. Because we made you wait too long, you don't have a power cord either, do you?
I apologize, but
That's
yeah,
all right, Bob.
It did expire, the battery.
All right, well, let's just walk through it
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
in an oral presentation.
Sure.
And I'm sure that we'll be meeting again, so.
Sure, absolutely. Obviously here tonight is myself, and my name is Bob Foley. I'm with Ernst & Young. I'm a consultant with T. Marzetti Group, and Cliff Tapke. Sorry. He's the plant manager over at the facility at 15 Kendrick Road. And what we really wanted to do tonight was we had a meeting earlier in the month with Salvador and Chairman Holmes, in which we formally introduced the project. But as Chairman Holmes stated, there is an opportunity here to expand their operations and as well as their head count in Wareham, and that's what we're here to talk about. And obviously we're also looking to respectfully request a TIF agreement in order for us to Team Marzetti to move forward and apply for some relatively lucrative state investment tax credits under the EDIP program. They would have to secure a local TIF agreement here in town. And I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Cliff just to provide an overview of the company and just let you know.
Again, my name's Cliff Tabke. I'm plant manager at Chatham Village Foods. We are a member of the T. Marzetti family, a wholly owned subsidiary of Lancaster Colony, traded on the NASDAQ. We are, in the Marzetti Group, one of 13 specialty food companies, ranging from salad dressings, croutons, baked goods, things of that nature. Marzetti acquired Chatham Village in '97 from Steve Bernard, private entrepreneur here, and from that point forward have grown the business substantially. And we are currently out of capacity. Many of you know we work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and in order to satisfy the demand that we have, we need more processing capability, more baking capabilities. So what we would like to do is remove our packaging operation that is in 15 Kendrick and to a new location in Wareham, and combined it with our distribution warehouse, which we presently have in New Bedford, Pope's Island. We'd like to combine those two things. They offer some efficiencies on how we produce, and that would be good for our operation, streamlining and eliminating some waste and travel. We currently have 140 jobs. We anticipate that the expansion would add another 25, along with the 10 existing warehouse hires that are in New Bedford would transfer up to this area. We have estimates, capital investments of between $8 and $9.5 million for the project, 2 to 2.5 being the building improvements.
Yep, sure. And we're here tonight. One of the reasons, obviously, we're here tonight is as they mentioned, they're considering two scenarios. They have obviously the facility here existing in Wareham. There's a possibility that they could locate there with the expansion, the added capital investment, the added jobs, etc. But they also have a facility in Ohio, which could also you know, be able to handle this expansion, et cetera. And given kind of the environment that they're in, very price conscious, et cetera, they're looking at whatever way they can to kind of even the playing field. Unfortunately, Massachusetts tends to be a more expensive state to do business in when compared to states such as Ohio, when you're looking at the cost of real estate, cost of capital, utilities, electricity, et cetera. So their parent corporation has asked to take a look at both scenarios and see where possible some tax incentive relief could be granted. And they've identified the EDIP program here in Massachusetts. And essentially tonight we're here before you to you know, ask for a partnership in exchange for agreeing to put forward a TIF agreement at your October 22nd town meeting. What would happen is they would be an exemption of certain percentage, a negotiated percentage, not on the existing tax revenue. The town would remain whole on the existing tax revenue stream, both at the existing facility and the new facility. What would happen is if there was any increase in assessment at both the current facility and the new facility, that is the revenue stream that would be exempted partially. And what that would allow T. Marzay to do is then apply to the Commonwealth for, as I mentioned before, some state investment tax credits, which would be pretty lucrative.
Yep. Now, and one of the reasons that this is important, and then I'll ask Sal to update us on the town side, one of the reasons it's important for us to have this movement this evening, we will have several meetings with Cliff and Bob over the next few weeks. But one of the reasons it's important for us tonight is to allow us to have a warrant article submitted for town meeting, because it closes on the 7th, and our next meeting won't be until the 10th. That's why what we're looking to do tonight is move forward with the approval of the board to submit a town meeting warrant article. If sometime in September after meeting we decide that it's not a good thing, we just pull the warrant article. But we can't wait until after the 7th to do that. So Sal, if you'd take a couple of minutes and update us on your activities here.
Absolutely. After first meeting with T. Marzetti at their site, we held a second meeting back here at the town hall with Elsa Miller, our assessor, and Derek, who was present. And we ran through a number of scenarios. I think what's important for everybody to understand is that they're going to make an investment in a piece of property of about $8.5 million. $6 million of that's in manufacturing equipment, and so that would be exempt from taxes to begin with. So we're talking about roughly a $2.5 million investment, and the question is, how much does that raise the value of the building? In our assessor's point of view, and we ran a couple of scenarios, we think that would not raise that value more than about 10% or so. And so what we're talking about over the course of potentially 20 years is a $10,000 per year increase in the taxes. And what T. Marzetti is asking is for some relief on that $10,000 over the course of 20 years. So, and I think the critical thing for everybody who's watching to understand is that the base valuation of that property would stay the same. Those taxes would still be paid. The improvements, the $2.5 million of improvements, which would raise that about 10%, that piece is the piece that they're looking for the relief on. And if we were to say, as a partner, enter into a partnership of, so let's say a 50-50, it would mean that they would pay $5,000 of that per year, and we would relieve them of that for $5,000 a year. That's an example. That's not the exact numbers, but that's a scenario we ran through. And what's really critical about that is, in order to get the state piece, the state relief, which is significantly more dollars, we must have a local tax relief. They can't get the state relief without it. From our perspective, we would be giving up a small amount of potential taxes that could be earned in order to keep the #1 crouton company in the world, by the way, and I think that's important for everybody to understand. And I'll say it again, #1 crouton company in the world, in our area, with 180 jobs here. So I think it's from my perspective as the Community and Economic Development Director, I think it's a significant opportunity for us.
And if I would, Derek, if you would comment as well. I believe you were there Thursday.
I was there, and from the administration side, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. One of the things we're always looking for is new growth and tax revenue. And now not only are we keeping 140 jobs and bringing some more in, we're also going to gain an extra, if you do 5,000 over 20 years, an extra $100,000 in tax revenue. So, I mean, it's a complete win for the town.
And Governor Kasich would do this in a heartbeat. He'd probably pay for the moving trucks.
Absolutely.
It's a very competitive world. I kid you not. Questions from the board? Mr. Titlebaum.
I guess I heard the numbers bandied about of possibly a $10,000 increase in the annual tax assessment, and you're looking for about a 50% break of that. Is that a correct guesstimate of what we're looking at here? Obviously, you can't predict what the tax rate's going to be, 15 years down the road. We understand that, but if in terms of today's dollars, is that roughly the numbers we're talking about?
Yes, that's what we've been discussing.
Right. Thanks. This seems like a no-brainer to me. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin.
I've already gone through all this. There's all upside. There's no downside. The only downside is if you guys leave here.
Mrs. Bigley.
I kind of get it, although I do see that we still need that revenue, so we're kind of shifting it from industry to the residents. Because it may only be $10,000 a year, but after 20 years, it's $200,000. I think what concerns me a lot is the fact that I just had a 7-minute presentation and being asked to make a decision about something I'm hearing for the very first time, but it come to find out that 2 members of this board have already been informed that this has been happening. So I'm reluctant to vote for it because at this time, until I have more information about it, I want to know how this is going to impact us with perhaps other businesses. Are we setting a precedent? Is this only for expansion, or are we going to have people lining up looking for TIFs? And we certainly still need the revenue, so we're going to shift that burden to the residents. So please don't misunderstand. I'm not disparaging your business. I want you to stay here, but I definitely, on something that has a huge impact and a long-term impact, I'm reluctant to make a decision after 7 minutes of first hearing the information.
Yeah, and I agree with Mrs. Begley. I only heard about this 2 weeks ago. So, I think the important issue is that what I don't see in this, I thought we were going to see, was the town meeting article.
I forwarded those along as part of the information in preparation of this meeting.
I never got them.
I forwarded all the documents. Yeah. Well, I forwarded all the documents because I actually forwarded a copy of this document as well. I had a PDF.
It's not in my packet.
All right, and again, what?
Do you happen to have the language of the article with you tonight?
I do not have it with me tonight, but I could get it for you first thing in the morning.
Mr. Chair?
No, again, I'm not asking for any votes on approving TIFs or anything like that. All I'm asking for, given the time, and I believe Mr. Clifford has a timeline with Marzetti, that if we don't allow us to at least prepare the article and get it ready, come springtime, they won't be here.
I understand.
So
I
I'm not
understand.
asking to approve TIFs. All I'm asking for.
I'm not saying that I oppose what you're proposing. I'm saying I can't support it at this time. Not after a 7-minute presentation that has long-term impact. I'm here to represent everybody. I want you to stay because you're good for our town, but I'm also representing the other, 20,000 people that live here. So once I have more information and I can speak intelligently about it, I don't feel like I can do that at this time with such a little bit of information. So I wouldn't oppose the article, but I'm not willing to support it at this time.
Okay, so I would need a motion if the board so chooses to prepare an article for town meeting in regards to T. Marzetti's.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Titlebaum, seconded by Mr. Slavin, and on the question, again, this just gives the board a chance to get an article prepared for town meeting, and I'm sure that in the next few weeks, once we get back to we'll be meeting with Mr. Cliff and Mr. Bob here several times before town meeting. But if we don't have an approval tonight to prepare an article, then we can't do it. So that's, again, not approving TIFs, not approving TIFs, is to keep this moving forward too, so that we can prepare an article, right?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 400. Thanks, guys.
Aye.
Sal,
Thank
would
you
you
very
make
much.
sure that we
Absolutely, I'll email it
get
first thing
that?
in the morning.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'm sorry about the long
No problem.
stretch there.
Mr. Chair, the hour is late. Is there any pressing business that is
Yeah,
on
I
the
have-
agenda?
I have just two quick things. Same issue. I sent you all the packet on the Sage wind power remetering project about a week or so ago. Same issue here. All I'm asking for is, because these contracts are, I think the Sage one was 20. Rich has already looked at it. He's in the process of giving his final thoughts and draft. He thought it was fine. But again, what I need from you tonight is the ability to move forward and create a warrant article to because
Submitted
it
by
has
the
to go
Board of
before-
Selectmen.
It has to go before town meeting for approval because the contract is more than 3 years. It's like 20 years. This is on Sage,
Mhm.
where we would remeter. This is solar. Plymouth. It's in Plymouth. I think they've sold about 40%, or they only have 40% available left. The town can relieve itself up to 10 megawatts, and that's why I asked Mr. Campina what his power source was, 1.4. The one question I did get answered so far, I told you there were several questions, was we currently spend $685,000 in electricity costs, and that includes town, the school department, the sewer plant.
Mis-
That was all inclusive.
Mr. Chair, I'd be willing to make the motion that a warrant article is crafted, and by no means I want anyone to think that I support this article or I'm against this article. I
Right.
simply think that the Board of Selectmen should have the article on the warrant. So I move that the Board of Selectmen
Thank
submit a Sage Power warrant article for town meeting.
Second.
And they will be in for, again, they were here in March. This is a group that we've seen a couple times, and they will be in before that. The last piece on that.
Can we
is-
vote on, should we vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. We have a motion and a second. I seconded.
Mr. Titlebaum, on the question? Again, this is just for the ability for the board to
Place an article.
solicit and bring back to the board here a warrant article.
Right.
Just one quick thing. For the board itself, Melissa, who's the town manager in Plymouth, I did contact because I had no idea whether this works or doesn't. So when I saw the name there, I suggest the board members contact her and ask her some questions. Plymouth has signed on this program already.
This
Thank
is,
you.
these discussions right now are just about the warrant articles, not about
That's
the
correct.
substance of the warrant
Right.
articles. So
Correct.
could we do that in the future, please?
Yep. There'll be full presentations on this again. And the third one is for First Generation Wind. This is a group.
We need to vote on the motion that's before us.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
And the last piece on that was a company called First Generation Wind, or First Wind Generation. Same issue. They're going to be coming before us in the next couple of weeks. It's a remetering company, and this group is signed and permitted up in East Bridgewater.
Is this for a wind turbine?
This is in East Bridgewater. No,
No.
this is a remetering project. In other words, we would get credits, we'd buy power from them and get credits back to the town. It's not for a wind turbine in Wareham.
All right,
no.
well, it says
No.
First Generation Wind.
That's the name
So-
of the company.
Right, my radar
They put
went
up
up.
wind turbines.
So this, again, is not for or against the merit of the warrant article. It's simply to craft one and bring
That's
it back
correct.
to the Board of Selectmen. So
Thank
I
you.
will move that that we craft a warrant article for First Generation Wind.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Begley, second by Mr. Titlebaum. Question? Again? To reiterate Mrs. Begley's point, this is just to allow us to prepare the warrant articles and get them submitted, and then, of course, we'll be discussing them in the very near future. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
One-
Abstain.
One last thing,
4-0-0.
because we've already gone beyond the hour. Who are you looking for?
I was looking for the chief.
He's gone. One last thing, because we've gone beyond the hour that we voted on, I have a question for you, Mr. Chair. Did we get any correspondence from the interim town administrator?
Yes. He's gone now.
Right, he's resigned as the interim town administrator.
He brought in, I'm sorry?
I'm asking if he's resigned as the interim town administrator,
He sent me a
Mr.
letter
Foster.
the other day, and I've had several phone calls about it. And my impression was that we were going to appoint he was going to appoint
So,
Mr.
Right, to clarify, so are we...
Back to his department position.
So back to us, because he's been doing both jobs.
Well.
Right, anyway.
We don't want to go there.
So I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Derek Sullivan as acting town administrator.
Just as a point of clarification, are we appointing him as acting or interim? Because I don't know that
Acting.
we have to designate an acting, do we?
Can't.
I was told we had to, but...
I think that has to come
How
from
about
John.
interim and/or? Would you perhaps modify your motion to include both titles, just to cover
Okay,
ourselves?
acting and/or interim, however it's determined legally and to protect the town of Wareham. How about
Great.
that?
Okay.
Perfect.
I don't.
Second.
Effective immediately.
Yes.
For
You're
discussion.
called tonight.
I
Does
don't.
anybody second it?
Peter did.
Hold on. Can I have a second?
Peter.
I seconded.
For discussion, the problem we have is we don't have a interim town administrator who can then put an acting one in place. So we have to really appoint him as an interim, because if we don't have an interim in place, nobody gets paychecks.
Well,
And what I think-
he
and-
could be appointed by the current town administrator.
But the current town administrator is effectively resigned, so he
No,
can't.
he is not. He's still got 2 hours on the clock, legally.
No, I think he had a time.
Yeah, August 21st.
No, he had a date and a time on the letter, did he not, Derek?
I didn't see a time.
Okay. This
All
is
right.
what I'm going to say.
Anything else on the question?
I think the safest way is to appoint him as the interim town administrator, and then we post the meeting for as early as possible on Friday, just to do a confirmation.
I'm not available Friday,
What kind
and
of
many people are not.
I'm
What
just
kind of
saying that would make us, it would be legal that way.
What kind of confirmation?
Confirmation that we're making him the interim.
I think we can make him
okay.
interim tonight.
We're just
Here's
doing
the
it right
thing.
now.
Here's the thing. We don't have an interim. We have to have an interim or
Correct.
acting. So I've already made the motion, and we will
Motion's-
have to. The motion's been made.
Second.
The man,
Acting and/or.
the man has the qualifications. Can we just vote on the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400. Thank you, Mrs. Begley.
Motion to adjourn?
I just want to make one
You wanna
comment,
have the
please.
acting and order from town administrator.
The chief.
That's right.
Can I just make one more comment, because it is on the agenda, and this is something we've been trying to get finished. The chief, I forwarded our liquor policies
Yes, to the chief?
to Chief Stanley. He wanted to see them
Right.
before we approved.
Fair enough.
And so he's just going to run through them and get them back to me by Monday, all right? And then they'll be ready for our next meeting for approval.
Right.
Okay? Fair, everybody? All right.
Great idea, Mr. Chair. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have a wonderful evening.